as he positions himself for the 2027 presidential race. Speaker Wetangula said State House was not an office to be pursued without first building a record of leadership. What do you mean? Record what leadership? Yani lazima ukuwe elected ndio sasa tuseme wewe umekuwa na experience.
No, this is what happens when these people who belong to my generation of people feel threatened.
Yeah.
Because someone is feeling a little threatened, because Sifuna does come from his backyard.
Yes, he does.
And Sifuna has a national appeal. He's been struggling with the appeal of his backyard
for decades.
Yes, that's where he's at. Yes, that's where he's at. So Sifuna, unfortunately, a much younger man, has simply come and overtaken all that. You may not like it,
but it is a reality.
Sifuna has a national appeal. Yes, so lump it, swallow it, live with it. That's what it is. He has, as we speak, he has a national appeal. Yes.
Sasa ni wewe ujiulize, wewe katika this new dispensation, where do you fall?
That is what you need to do, my friend.
Otherwise, mambo ya kusema you're not fit to lead because you don't have. Those who have got a track record have gotten into those positions and have done nothing positive or have not improved the lives of Kenyans significantly to the point of saying, okay, tumeona mahali experience yako imekutoa na mahali umeiapply na imetupeleka, imetuelevate.
What our lived experience is.
Yes.
That experience tends to entrench the status quo.
Yeah.
And we are talking change. Status quo is not change. It's the antithesis of change. Yes. So if somebody represents change, chime in, brother. Move with the times and see how you can fit in. Because this popularity is real.
Avanye kama Kalonzo amesema, Kalonzo calls for more opportunities for young Kenyans and warns against intimidation. Yeah? Okay, I hope this is in regards to politics. Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka has called for great opportunities for young Kenyans, warning that the country's future could be at risk of their concerns continuing to be ignored. Now, speaking at Divine International Ward outreach in Nairobi's industrial area on Sunday, Kalonzo said that many young people were educated, capable, and ready to work, but lacked opportunities to improve their livelihoods. He said growing frustration among young Kenyans was driving demands for political and economic change, and warned against responding to citizens exercising their rights with intimidation or violence. Greater opportunities for young Kenyans. He said that the country needed to restore confidence among young people, arguing that their sense of hope was closely linked to Kenya's future. Ni ukweli. Because many of these old folks will not be there when these young folks are old folks. So yes, they are the future. Tukubali yaishe. All right, on to another one here. Kindiki says national unity must not be sacrificed for politics. What exactly does he mean?
Who said that?
Kindiki.
What did you say?
National unity must not be sacrificed for politics. DP Kithure Kindiki has called for issue-based, constructive and mature politics as Kenya prepares for the general election. Okay. Speaking at Queen of All Saints Catholic Gaishanjiru Parish in Murang'a County on Sunday during centenary celebrations for St. Raphael Hospital, Kindiki said national unity and peaceful coexistence are not negotiable. And he urged Kenyans to tolerate one another and reject politicians who use divisive rhetoric to fuel ethnic tensions. Umeelewa hiyo?
Yeah.
All right. Uliona ile harusi ilikuwa Saturday?
Ilikuwa ni harusi ama engagement?
Si ndio hiyo sasa? Acha tusome kidogo juu ya mambo.
Very nice.
Who is Isaiah Yunge? From rural childhood to Charlene Ruto's fiancé. Is it fiancé?
Both are correct.
Yeah. For much of his childhood, Isaiah Yunge's world revolved around his grandmother, livestock, and rice plantations. Years later, that journey has taken him into the world of technology, international leadership, and entrepreneurship. And now into the spotlight as the man who has won the heart of President William Ruto's daughter, Charlene Ruto. Yunge, a Tanzanian technology entrepreneur, became the center of attention on Saturday, August 8th, 2026, when he and Charlene held their traditional coitus ceremony in Kilgoris, Narok County. Away from the colorful ceremony and the public attention surrounding his relationship with Charlene, Yunge has built a career around a very different kind of pursuit, finding ways to use technology to solve everyday problems affecting young people across Africa. Uliona hizo picha za huko hivyo bwana, and who is who in Kenyan politics.
Let me tell you what caught my attention.
Yeah.
The number of helicopters that were parked there.
Okay.
I said, okay, 1, 2, 3. Then the guys moved. Just when I was at 6. And I was thinking.
But from rough estimation, how many do you think were there?
I can't, bwana, because I wish they had continued a bit more. I had only counted 6.
Okay.
But Kilgoris is far.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
And even driving from Nairobi to Kilgoris.
Nimbali.
Kilgoris is Nibali, bro. It's not like at around the corner.
Yeah.
Okay? But everything about it, it is splendid. It looked good.
Yeah.
People looked happy. Yes. And there were many.
I liked the fashion sense.
It was nice, eh?
Of course, President, yes, ni mtu wa counter suit. Hiyo yake, tick. And then who else did I see? Akina Oscar Sudi walikuwa wamevaa vipoa sana. Murkomen pia landed in style in his chopper, and then of course you know him and his watches that cost $1 million bob each. He was there. Ni ukweli. Si watch zake zote hakuna yenye ati less than $1 million. Yenye I think the cheapest I saw was worth 1.3 million Kenya shillings. Yeah. So
and just so that we understand each other,
yes,
those are not the most expensive watches one can buy.
Yes, they are much more expensive watches out there. Kuna moja ya President Ruto tuliona, it was costing almost 4 million. So it's nothing. Then of course other.
What do you mean it's nothing?
I mean, you know, that's one way of actually.
No, go on.
Wewe sasa umenunua shamba city. Umenunua shamba, unaona ndio zile ekari 5 zako pale. Kuna mtu amevaa ekari zake 5 kwa mkono. Hivyo ndivyo nilikuwa nataka kumaanisha. Aya, so watu walikuwa wamevaa vipoa sana. It was a colorful ceremony. Larry Medal was there as well. I don't know whether he was there as a friend or he was there as a journalist.
Doesn't matter.
I mean, I'm just saying, I didn't know that he knows the first family in that way. To be honest, I don't know. If it were a Raila Omolo ceremony or a Raila family ceremony, I'd be like, okay, you know, jango. Yeah. But in this one, I was like, are they friends with Charlene? Friends with what's the name of Charlene's brother? Ujama wa matatu. George, thank you. Are they buddies with George Ruto? Or, you know, is he here to document this wedding? Because I mean, it is a very big ceremony. Is he here to document the thing? I don't know, man. So,
Paul,
yes, sir.
You cannot actually know the people who work in the media.
Yeah.
And who they know.
Yes. It's true.
Yes. Huwezi kujua wao vizuri na huwezi kujua wale watu ambao wanajuana
nao. Ni ukweli.
Ni wengi and mahali walikutana how you can't know.
Ukiwa kwa hii space yetu kwa mfano.
Because people in the media don't advertise whom they know.
Yeah. Mtu akikuona kwa event ya Peter Kaluma atasema siti ameenda pale kama journalist, ameenda pale uko rafiki ama ameenda pale kufanya nini. So I'm just saying, I was just trying to, you know. Anyway, so there you have it. It was a very nice ceremony. I absolutely loved the pictures and the videos that came from there. And we wish Charlene all the best. Sifuna criticizes Ruto's Vision 2060 and urges younger leaders to shape Kenya's future. What did he say? Nairobi Senator Edwin Sifuna has criticized President William Ruto's Vision 2060 plan, arguing that the country's long-term future should be shaped by younger generations rather than the current political leadership. Now, speaking during a Linda Mwananchi rally in Mumias, Kakamega County on Sunday, Sifuna said President Ruto's time in office was nearing its end and challenged the government to allow younger leaders to take responsibility for Kenya's future after the 2027 general election. Now, Sifuna directed his criticism at Kisumu Governor Anyang' Nyong'o, who has been associated with the development of the long-term plan, saying the governor could have waited before presenting it to the president. Okay. All right. I mean, let these folks give us their plan. Then we give them ours.
But why don't they come up with their plan?
Linda Mwananchi.
Yeah, I mean, come on. If you don't like what these people are doing, come up with yours. So criticize theirs and say, like, for instance, this is what we think
on the issue
of this particular subject matter.
Right.
And we think the direction we should take on this particular matter is A, B, C, D. Yes.
It's as simple as that.
Yeah, but the low-hanging fruit of, no, they shouldn't do this, oh, this and this, and that's easy. That's very easy. Come up with your own. Yes.
It's as simple.
So you're a younger politician.
Symbol.
Come up with your own, man.
People from my neck of the woods usually say symbol. It's as simple as that. Symbol. Kindiki vows to stay in government as Kenya Kwanza debates 2027 running mate. Hii story imechacha, Deputy President Kithure Kindiki has said he will remain in government and continue supporting President William Ruto's administration amid growing political debate over the Kenya Kwanza coalition's choice of running mate for the 2027 general election. Speaking during a mass service in Murang'a County on Sunday, Kindiki said he remained focused on his government responsibilities and advancing the administration's development agenda. Siwezi kutoka kwa hii serikali, hii ni serikali yetu, Kindiki said. Now his remarks come as political discussions intensify within the Kenya Kwanza and among its allies over the coalition's strategy for the 2027 polls, including speculation over who will deputize President Ruto if he seeks re-election. Sasa tulisema hivi, Kindiki asonge tu aingie ODM. Then ODM wampresent kama nani? Kama running mate wa President Ruto. And then in 2027, ju ODM imesupport President Ruto. President Ruto na UDA na the other team wasupport nani? Wasupport ODM. Ambayo sasa Kindiki atakuwa their party leader at the time. Unaget? Na Kindiki akisha kuwa party leader, of course analeta the already bases that ODM has. We're talking about Luo Nyanza, we're talking about some places in Northeastern, we're talking about some places in South Nyanza and every other place that I might be forgetting. Alafu sasa of course Mount Kenya East yote ikuje pale. And then sasa wasupport Kindiki. Kindiki akuwe president. Hapo nimetumia kile ama sijatumia kile.
Sana mingi sana.
Si ndio?
Sana mingi. You know, Paul?
Yes.
I never bother about these tirades. These ones of, sisi ndio tunataka, See, ODM, this broad-based arrangement is meeting in Naivasha.
Yes.
Okay. Let them meet. Does anybody know the mind of the president and what it is that he's actually thinking, what he's planning?
Personally, I would say no.
Precisely. So.
And I'm sure they've had conversations with Kindiki. I'm sure they've had conversations with every other stakeholder within the broad-based government. So
right now, I'm not really sure I know what's going on, if you ask me.
Right now, what I would say is that the president has a very difficult task ahead.
I would say he doesn't.
Okay.
I would say he doesn't. It appears like he does, but he doesn't. From where he sits, collectively, he has more knowledge about what's happening than anybody else.
For sure.
Okay. All the other people are jostling and trying to maneuver, either trying to maneuver to take over the position that he currently has, or jostling and maneuvering to try and see how they can fit into his government right now.
Right.
With the year that we have left.
Yeah.
Okay? So that jostling has taken center stage, and it's what we in the media are making part of our conversation on a daily basis. But again, let me just pause and say, the things that bedevil us every day are not in this conversation at all. At all. Every once in a while, a leader like Kalonzo comes and talks about the youth. What has he actually said? This thing about making space for the youth, for heaven's sake, that is a story that has been there since independence. And you know why it's a tiresome story?
Why?
You know, at independence, you know these ministers and leaders whom we had, those were young people. They were really young. We had some 28-year-olds. We had some 30-year-olds. Most of the people who were PSs were in their 30s, not 40s. That's why they stayed in government for that long. Okay? You make yourself relevant. It's not relevance finding you. Yes. If the youth want to be taken seriously, they must take themselves seriously. Yes.
Okay. Ndio maana watu wameanza kusema sisi ni sifu na many other slogans that are out there.
You know, my friend, sloganeering is good. It's just words. For you to be able to be taken seriously in a political sphere,
right,
there are things you need to do that people look at and say, you know, I think we'd better include these fellows. Because if we don't, we might run in afoul of them, and we may have a problem. Politicians are very finely tuned to changes. They're very finely tuned to something that may upset their particular apple cart.
Just like you've said it, we've said that if they do not find a way to include these folks will actually exclude them, because they will literally take over, and it will be the old folks now asking for a seat at the table.
Paul, as things stand, these young people are not taking over anything. This just talk.
Apana.
It is just talk. There is
nothing.
I'm not being harsh.
I know, but I'm telling you.
No, Paul, it is talk, and then it is more talk. That's it.
Do you know how many people are running for seats countrywide? Forget the ones that we host here. Those ones are not even, we are not even scratching the surface with them. The number of people mashinani wenye hata hawajafika hapa, wenye wanataka kukuwa MCAs, wenye wanataka kuwa MPs, wenye wanataka kuwa senators na every other position that is available, siti watu ni wengi.
It doesn't matter, because every time we've had a by-election, we've had young people who have presented themselves in different parties, and they've all performed dismally.
Forget the by-election. Okay, don't forget, but let's take note of something that is happening in the by-elections. The kind of mobilization being done in the by-elections by the big wigs, the big parties. Yeah, that's why you will see DCP concentrating very much in Olkalau, and they also concentrated very much in Mbeere North and DP, and of course UDA and ODM will do whatever they're doing in those places. But now when it comes to the general election, I don't think DCP will give much attention to the specific counties and wards like they did in Olkalau, for example.
No, that is true.
They'll be spread thin.
Very thin.
Na sasa hapo ndio watu wenye wakupita katikati watapita katikati.
Bro, let me tell you this. To bring about change is not katikati. You have to overwhelm that electoral process.
Yes.
Has there been an overwhelming registration of voters?
There has been.
Where?
See, in the last that thing that Tukokadi thing registered,
there has been an increase.
Yes.
Is it overwhelming?
In my opinion, it is overwhelming.
No. Overwhelming would mean of the percentage of young people,
yes,
who, as we speak right now, are of the age of voting. First of all, have IDs. 2, have registered. If of the total, we say that over 70% of young people have registered, the word overwhelming then comes into force. Okay. And I will already see a voting population that can bring about phenomenal change. Yes, that I can see.
Aye.
Before I see that, words.
You have introduced very good parameters. Let us wait and see. Meanwhile, let's check out the traffic as far as the roads are concerned. Ngong Road iko sawa tu kwa sasa, no traffic jams witnessed. Traffic is moving quite well. Agwings Kothek, Gitanga Road uko kote kunasonga vizuri. Cotton Avenue, Dennis Street, all the way to Valley Road and into State House Road. Hizo barabara ziko swafi. Oloitoktok Road, ni watu wa Lavington, nini hamna shida yote. James Gishuru, as you're heading towards Wayakiwe, that one is moving quite well. Wayakiwe, if we go back all the way to Loresho, Kabete na huko, kila kitu kiko sawa. Heading to the CBD, no complaints whatsoever, and even the CBD itself is looking clean. Pale tu Bomblast kidogo ndio ninaona ni kama kuna msongamano wa magari kidogo, lakini nonetheless kwingine kuna kaa vizuri. Thika Super Highway, Pangani, hiyo area Muthaiga ndio iko na traffic peke yake, and today's traffic maximum ukikaa hapo more than 1 minute there's a problem, but you are moving quite well if you ask me. Looking at Outer Ring Road, the entire stretch all the way from Airport North Road is looking good, no complaints whatsoever. Kangundo Road pia iko sawa ukielekea sehemu za Kangundo, ukitoka kule Islando, hizo barabara zingine zote akina Donholm, they're looking clean at this particular hour. Manyanja Road as well looking absolutely fantastico. So I've told you Thika Super Highway is looking good. Eastern Bypass, Airport North Road connection also looking good at this particular hour. You guys are moving quite well. Mombasa Road coming from the CBD and heading into the CBD is looking good. Huku kutoka Chumvi tukienda huko, you know that Chumvi Machakos Road, that junction when you're heading towards Mombasa and Kitui County, hiyo yote iko yoyote iko sawa. Skipping all the way to Mombasa County. Mombasa is looking empty at this particular hour. Absolutely no traffic jams witnessed. But if you see something I need to know, well, you know where to find me. Holla at a brother.
Traffic on Radio Generation.
As a colleague of ours, ujamaa anaitwa Abdul. Abdul ameniambia nianze na the Standard front page. Akasema, or rather gazeti linasema hivi. Where are they? Police officers on the run. Rogue cops is what they're being called right now. Implicated by the DCI in one of the most chilling murders in recent memory. Inspector Kenneth Kipkemoi and Constables Elijah Kibelion and Collins Kiplangat are linked to the daylight killing of Dr. Victoria Mutiso. Detectives have placed the three officers at different stages of the plot, with Kipkemoi and Kiplangat now on the run. Former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua yesterday claimed the officers were paid 1.5 million bob for the hit and that two of them were arrested but released after a phone call from Interior Cabinet Secretary Kipchumba Murkomen. The chilling question now is how officers entrusted with protecting lives became part of an execution squad and why two of them remain free. Mtandao bana ni mbaya. These guys were exposed, their images plastered all over. According to Rigathi Gachagua, we are asking Mr. Amin, these officers are in Kenya. They are killers. They have killed Dr. Mutiso and you have confirmed they participated in the murder. Why then are you releasing them after Murkomen called you? This is according to former Deputy President. One of them was arrested at Nderi Police Post, or rather arrested and taken to Nderi Police Post. The other one was arrested and taken to Karinde Police Post before they were released. Well, according to Gachagua. How true that is, I don't know, man. There's something that was said, I don't know how true it is, but kama Amin alisema ati Gachagua alikuwa anaongea na one of the killers.
I saw a clip where the director for criminal investigation was saying exactly that they have evidence and a recording of Gachagua talking to one of the killers.
Yes.
You know, this is a tragedy.
Yes.
That shouldn't be dragged into politics. And that's what's happening now. Because then we'll lose the thread of what actually happened. The DCI already know right now as we speak. Yeah. Not just the people who are involved and why they were involved. But everything that is happening now is pouring cold water and interfering with that process that has happened to date. Kipchumba, why is Kipchumba's name coming into this discussion again? Why? Is there evidence that he called someone? I mean, if Gachagua has evidence, he should, give it to us. That's the point, but he never talks of evidence. He just states things as though it is absolutely true. Yeah. And then there's an entire brigade of people who now follow it and say, but unajua Kipchumba called. Right now, Gachagua has got a very huge responsibility because everything he says carries weight. Everything he says requires proof. Nasema, it carries a lot of weight because, like you've said, there's someone who actually believes. There are many people who believe and they state it as though it is the truth. Sasa Murkomen unaona vile anaribu vitu bwana. Lakini hao tunataka kutumaliza. Yes. And you're thinking, yeah. Guy, that's what he said. Do we know whether it is true or not? We don't. Anyway, it's our politics, is it not? It is our politics. But let's entertain that thing for a second. What if it's true? Indeed. What if it's true? You see, for me, I will not what if it for a simple reason. Kenyan politicians say anything and everything. Okay? If there is no evidence supporting that statement, that is what the person has said and it ends there. How many people would Kipchumba call in the course of the day? How would we single out this particular call? I mean, there is so much to adduce and there's so much to think and even talk about. I understand, Dr. Mutiso was killed. Yes, she was. This seems to be something that revolves around the larger family of Professor Ndetei. Mambo ya shamba imetajwa pale. Yes, na mambo ya familia ya kwanza and so forth. Okay? These people are grieving at the moment. Professor Ndetei and Dr. Mutiso had children. Kuna watoto wawili. Now, they are not in the picture at all. It's politicians who've taken this thing over, and it's now who talked to who did what. DCI left to do their business by now would have been telling us what they have pieced together, what they know, who is in the dock, who is where. They'd be telling us. Yes.
Is this the time to say that wanaongea mambi pambi?
No.
I've been waiting to use that phrase.
No. Keep using it.
Yes.
When you come across a different story again, just fit it in.
I throw it.
By the time the 4 hours are up, it'll be part of your vocabulary.
Yeah, but it's sad what is really happening as far as this case is concerned. Anyway, Taifa Leo front page, kivumbi chaanza, wanasema hivyo. Ni mwaka moja tu uliosalia kabla ya Wakenya kuchagua kiongozi wao atakaye watawala hadi mwaka wa 2032. Mwaka mmoja kuanzia leo, Wakenya watamiminika vituo vya kupigia kura kufanya uamuzi kuhusu atakaye watawala hadi 2032. Watachagua ama kumkabidhi Rais William Ruto muda mwingine wa miaka 5 au kumpa nafasi kiongozi mpya kuchukua usukani. Katika uchaguzi huo ambao tayari umepachikwa lakabu ya 2 term dhidi ya 1 term, wapiga kura watawachagua wabunge 290 wabunge la kitaifa, magavana hii ni ngapi? 47 na manaibu wao 47, pia wabunge wa wawakilishi wanawake 47, maseneta na madiwani kutoka wodi hizo zao mbalimbali. Habari kamili utaipata katika ukurasa wa pili. Kuna nyuso zimepachikwa pale za wanaowania uraisi. Kunaye rais tayari ambaye yuko ndani, William Ruto. Kuna bwana Edwin Sifuna ambaye ndiye seneta wa Nairobi. Bwana Kalonzo Musyoka, alafu kuna Daktari Fred Matiang'i, kuna bwana Rigathi Gachagua, alafu tuko na mama ambaye anajulikana kama Iron Lady ama mwanamke wa chuma. Am I making sense? Bi Martha Karua. Sawa basi, kama nimesema vibaya nisamehewe. Sikuwe nimetukana mtu bwana. Huenda mamilioni ya kamera zitumike uchaguzi ujao. Tunafaa kukubaliwa kutumia kamera zetu. Wanasema ripoti zaonyesha karibu kila mpiga kura nchini aweza kutumia simu yake ya kisasa kurekodi matukio katika kituo chake. Hivyo ndivyo tunataka, na hiyo utaipata katika ukurasa wa pili. Koti yapiga breki ujenzi wa msikiti. Yadaiwa msikiti huo unajengwa katika ardhi ya bustani na umma Mombasa, yani public land. Sivyo? Hiyo utaipata katika ukurasa wa pili. Nitazidi kuvumisha ODM. Huyu ni Waziri Mbadi. Waziri wa fedha asema hata acha siasa za ODM licha ya kuwa afisa wa serikali. Hiyo ipate ukurasa wa 4. IEBC yatoa ratiba ya uchaguzi. Tume iliweka wazi tarehe muhimu za maandalizi ya kura hadi Agosti 10 mwaka ujao. Hiyo utaipata katika ukurasa wa 3. Alafu kuna hii timu inajulikana kama Arsenali, mabingwa wa Ulaya. No, hawa ni mabingwa wa wapi? Mabingwa wa England kwa Kiswahili. Uingereza. Shukran. Mabingwa wa Uingereza walipigwa 3-2 na Borussia Dortmund hapo jana. Hiyo utaipata katika ukurasa wa 20. Siti mchezo huu ulikuwa mnoma. Unajua mnoma?
Mchezo gani?
Hii ya Borussia na Arsenal.
Are these are the friendly games?
No, this one was a cup. It's called the Emirates Cup.
Okay.
But there are some other friendly games ongoing.
So the Emirates Cup, where was it played?
It was played actually at the Emirates Stadium.
Emirates is at
the
Arsenal.
Yeah, the Arsenal. Walivunjwa kwa huko 3-2.
Arsenal lost.
Yes. They were given kichapo cha umbwa. Yani a dog's beating.
Dog's beating would have been 5-0 or something.
Okay, sawa.
That's a narrow win.
You're right.
Yes.
Yeah. Sawa. Hii ndio isoma ya mwisho. Nimeona story hapa naweza taja. Daily Nation front page. Decision 2027 is what they're calling it. 1 year to go. Kalonzo Musyoka, David Maraga, Martha Karua, William Ruto, Edwin Sifuna, Fred Matiang'i and Rigathi Gachagua. Key electoral timelines. August 10th, publication of limits for expenditure, contributions, and donations. That is supposed to happen today, right? And then December 10th, issuance of compliance certificate to compliant political parties. And then Feb 9th next year, deadline for public officers intending to vie to resign from office. So if you're a public officer intending to vie, February 9th is the last day. So if you're a CS and you are intending to vie for a political seat, you need to resign by this date. If you're any other person in the government that is...
This is something officer, I will want to see. I will really want to see if this is going to happen.
Yeah.
Yes.
Tutaona nani anataka kukuwa nini wapi saa ngapi na nani. March 16th, political parties to submit membership lists to IEBC. Okay, so this is the full membership of your party. The millions of you that are registered here on March 16th, the IEBC needs to have that particular list. And then May 9th, independent candidates to submit their names and symbols. Okay, City, what would your symbol be if you were to get into politics? Let me guess.
Yes.
What does City like? City. Kale kakofia kako napendanga kuvaa. Kana kakofia ka Ghana. Which country is that?
It comes from Papua New Guinea.
That one. You would, or document carrier would be your symbol. Document carrier would be your symbol. Yeah. And then August 7th, end of campaign period being 48 hours to general election day. Wait, August 7th. See, the election is on 8th. No, 10th. Oh, it's 10th. Yes. Okay, sawa. So August 7th is the end of the campaign period. And then May 29th to June 11th. Which one is this one? Nomination of political parties and independent candidates. May the following year. Or May this year. We've already passed this year.
It is the following year, Chief.
So 2027.
May, everything that is being referenced there is in the year of the election.
Nomination of political party and independent candidates. Why are we doing it? On May next
year.
You know, I've read the election is happening on August 7th. Then I see May 29th at the nomination of a political party.
The election is on the 10th.
So in my head, I was like, so in 2028, May.
No. You were in 2027 and yet we're in 2026.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nilikuwa nimevuka mwaka.
Okay.
Yeah, so anyway, the front page they're saying it's exactly 1 year to the August election when voters will decide whether to give President William Ruto another 5-year term or replace him with one of his opponents. Today we launch extensive election coverage. This is on the Daily Nation. You will see that on pages 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, all the way to 11. And then the last headline here on the Daily Nation, our solemn pledge to Kenyan voters. This one, I think, also a pledge by the Daily Nation to you guys. Haya, acha niangalia haraka hii ya The Nairobian. Hapa wanasema Wycliffe Oparanya, why I am not chasing the DP seat yet. This one is on page 13. Staying in the cold, why wealthy men's bodies lie in morgues or mortuaries. This one you'll find on page 22. Majimoto, the spring where the Ma culture and nature meet inside Narok's Loita Hills. A warm spring carries ancient Maasai stories, geological mysteries, and a painful land dispute revealing a community's struggle to protect nature heritage and identity. And still on matters, Dr. Mutiso, Victoria Mutiso, divorce property row and double murder. A bitter divorce, a multi-million shilling property war, and years of courtroom battles. Now 2 people are dead, 1 lawyer and 1 psychologist, as detectives probe whether a family feud turned into a deadly vendetta. All right. There you have it. Over to you, City.
Let's look at the Star. Woman survives vicious leopard attack trying to save dad in Lamu. This took place within Boni Forest in a ward called Basuba Ward. That's in Lamu County. Okay? There's a gentleman called Wisha Yusuf who was attacked when she was trying to save her elderly father from a leopard which had been resting behind their homestead. Okay? Startled by the movement as the father opened the chicken coop's door to release the chicken for the day, the leopard first attacked the elderly man, who raised alarm. Alerted by her father's screams, she darted out of the house to see what was happening before the wild animal turned its attention to her. But she survived the attack. Okay?
All right.
India-Kenya development relations now enter a new era. And what is this new era? In Nairobi's foreign policy circles, India has long occupied a prominent, albeit understated space. For the longest time, the country has offered scholarships, trained civil servants, supplied affordable pharmaceuticals, and financed a handful of infrastructure projects. But that is now changing. The real story is 2026 that India and Kenya are beginning to build systems together. The conversation has moved beyond aid, concession loans, and old donor-recipient vocabulary. What has emerged is a partnership increasingly focused on digital governance and energy connectivity. When they're working together, maybe the Kenyan government should work together with the Indian government to come up with an electoral system that favors us.
Yeah.
Not this thing that has expires every year, and we are told you 19 billion, you 20 billion. No, yeah. Because India has a system which they themselves made.
Yeah.
And it works for them quite well. Yes.
Na iwasumbui.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. In the news column, ex-DP Rigathi targets 100 MPs clean sweep in Mount Kenya region. Story on page 2. Let me ask you this question, Paul.
Ask.
If you were to be asked a question which I'm asking you,
Yes.
do you think that DCP is more popular in the mountain region than Rigathi Gachagua, or do you think that Rigathi Gachagua is more popular than DCP?
I think Rigathi Gachagua is DCP and DCP is Rigathi Gachagua. So if I were to say who is popular, I'd say both of them are equally popular. Because if today Gachagua leaves DCP for whatever reason, of course it's impossible now unless God calls him home, probably that popularity will go with him.
Right.
Yeah.
Back in the middle of the paper, what started as a bad season and now food security concern. Why is this so? That's poor rainfall leaves Kitale Eldoret maize crop withered. Story on page 4 and 5. So the bread basket is no longer what it's supposed to be. Right. Then back in the middle of this particular paper, there's a picture. The title, Engage, Charlene Radiant on Her Big Day. It's a picture of President William Ruto, First Lady Rachel, the daughter Charlene, and her husband Isaiah Yunge during the young couple's engagement ceremony in Tona Heritage Farm, Naserian Village, Narok. Okay? Sawa. Let's get to the Business Daily. There's a quote here in the intelligence section by somebody by the name of Kiplimo Kigen.
Yeah.
Today's worker is defined by flexibility. It is the reality for an estimated 1.5 million Kenyans whose livelihoods are powered by digital platforms. That's what he has to say. KRA loses fight for tax deduction on bad loans with banks. The Kenya Revenue Authority has lost its bid to deny Consolidated Bank of Kenya 264.4 million bad debt tax deductions tied to unpaid loans by borrowers, marking a significant victory for the industry. So, NSSF savings lift life insurance premiums. Life insurers registered a sharp rise in premium incomes in the first quarter of 2026, lifted by a surge in National Social Security Fund savings channeled through insurance products. Straightforward. Kenyans rate China's influence above US. Kenyans view China's influence more positively than that of the United States, a new survey shows, reflecting the shifting balance of global economic power as Beijing expands its trade, infrastructure financing, and investment footprint across Africa. The Americans still have that colonial mentality where they want to tell you where to jump off.
Sawa.
If you don't behave, you're not getting the lollipop. China comes and gives the lollipop first and says, what is this thing you wanted? Okay. Fine, let's get on with it.
Yeah.
So you keep dangling your lollipop while somebody else is already giving us the lollipop and see how that works for you.
Africa has already gone through the Easter.
Yes, it has.
And they're getting a goodie, so they are including a lollipop.
Yes. Back in the middle of the paper, former PS takes top stake in Middle East Bank. Kenya. Esther Koimet owns 17.48% of Tier 3 lender, her late billionaire father Nicholas Biwott linked to the bank.
Okay.
That's really the story. There's nothing more to write. It's the beginning and the end of the story. 1 year to go, decision 2027. 1 year from today, today. Yes, Kenyans, today. Kenyans will troop to polling stations to deliver a verdict on who governs them until 2032.
Yeah.
They will choose whether to hand President William Ruto another 5-term contract or clear the way for someone else. In the same election already framed as 2-term versus 1-term, the voters will elect 290 members of parliament, of National Assembly, 47 governors and their deputies, 47 women reps, 47 senators, and 1,450 members of the county assembly.
Yeah.
This will be the 8th general election since the reintroduction of multi-party politics in 1992.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's it.
So you can tell us what our listeners are saying.
Let me tell you what our listeners are saying now that you've asked. Louis Ruda Singwa, watching all the way from Kigali in Rwanda, said, good morning. Good morning to you too. Creative Dan, amesema good morning City and Muga. Eh?
I'm the same person.
So you are City and then I am Muga.
Yes, or you are City and I am Muga.
Well, good morning City and Muga.
Yes.
Maybe he meant Mungala.
Mungala.
I don't know.
But we thank you nonetheless.
Yes, Migori tunasikiza, tuko ndani ya RG na hatulipi rent. Ya karibuni sana, huko hatulipishi rent. Huko kwingine kwani mnalipanga rent? Willis Juma amesema good morning Energy. Energy Radio. No, it's not Energy Radio. It is Radio Generation.
But energy is good.
Yeah.
We have the energy.
Ama he means good morning Energetic Radio.
That is probably what he means.
Right.
But we welcome the greetings.
Kabisa.
Yes.
Willis Juma karibu sana. Creative Dan saying City bila miwani has this uncanny semblance to Kenyatta 1. Alafu akaniambia uliza City kama anajua lugha ya Adwanyo ba mani. No.
Asha.
Yeah? Asha. Not Aisha. It's Asha.
No, I do know who Aisha is and I also know who Asha is.
Okay.
Yes, this is Asha.
Yeah.
Yes, this is, you know what I'm saying.
All right. So Asha do Gikoyo. Okay.
Yes.
Do modo anyoba. Willis Juma is asking you, CT.
Yes.
What else do you want youths to do? We are no longer leaderless. We have Sifuna and the team has a structure. The only remaining part is to make it public. Old folks should stop being delusional.
Let me say this, huh?
Yes.
Forget focusing on the old folk, okay? They're already old, they're set in their ways. Focus on how you can build this power. Focus on one. That's the fundamentals.
Right.
Get IDs, push for it, push each other to register as voters. Then learn to hold each other accountable, because if not,
Yes.
you will elect young people who will do exactly what the old people are doing. And then everyone will blame you in the same way you blame the older people. Change isn't talking about it and finding fault with those who are clearly the bane of your existence.
Yeah.
Change is actually living what you're saying. And that requires the ability to hold people to account.
Yeah.
And you start with holding yourselves, your colleagues to account. You can't give them a free pass and then hold somebody else to account. No, you start with your own. Hapo tu.
Sawa.
Bro ni mbaya.
Yeah.
Hisi sawa.
Alafu kuna bado Willis Juma amesema I don't like Gachagua, but the guy is very truthful as far as the intelligence is concerned. Okay. Kuna watu wanamtanga Gachagua, especially guys from Rift Valley. Wanasemanga Rigathi Gachagua.
That man understands what is happening in this country.
Yes.
He's a man who saw an opportunity and is a man who took opportunity and is continuing to take the opportunities presented to him.
He's a man of means. He knows.
No, he's
things.
a man who understands what to do politically. And he's doing it. You see, he talks and he does.
Yeah. Kusema na kutenda.
Yes, he is building himself and he is building his party. So you can like or dislike him. That is personally yours.
But he's doing something.
He is doing a lot, not just something.
And it seems to work in his favor.
But it is working already.
Right.
Because he's on everyone's lips. People talk about him. Those who are for him or against him, but they constantly talk about him.
Ndio hiyo sasa.
Yes.
Here is Winnie Maganga with the news.
Radio Generation, the sound is fine. Pump it up, turn it high all the time. Let the music move you, let's sway. Radio G's got your jam all day.
Generation, the home of urban soul. This is the Radio Generation News.
Good morning, I'm Winnie Maganga. A gold rush in Kanyarkwat, West Pokot County is raising fears of humanitarian crisis. Local authorities say about 10,000 people have arrived in Cheprorol village in just 6 days following reports of a possible gold discovery. The crowds are coming from nearby areas, other counties, and even neighboring countries. West Pokot Deputy County Commissioner Samuel Kiarie has warned that the growing population and safe mining and lack of basic facilities could put lives at risk. Former presidential advisor Moses Kuria says President William Ruto could be re-elected even without getting a single vote for the Mount Kenya region. Speaking on Citizen TV, Kuria says even securing 13% of the vote in the region will be a major win for Ruto, describing it as a bonus for the president. He says his projections show Ruto can win the 2027 general election without relying on votes from Mount Kenya, insisting that figures don't lie.
We got 13% of the vote. If the president gets 13% of Mount Kenya, it's a very big win for him. It's a very big win. It's a bonus. It's more than he needs. It's more than he needs. Yeah? If next year the president in Mount Kenya region gets 13% of the vote, it's a bonus. It's the excess of what he needs. I was with you here before, and I told you, and I repeat here again, and I'm going to speak that when we come to the next point about the politics of 2027, that the president, in my projection, and I'm an old hard in this, is going to be re-elected without a single vote from Mount Kenya region.
Nairobi Senator Edwin Sifuna has criticized President William Ruto's Vision 2060 plan, saying Ruto's time in office is almost over and that the next generation should take over after the 2027 general election. Speaking during a Linda Mwananchi rally in Mumias, Kakamega County, Sifuna also criticized Kisumu Governor Anyang' Nyong'o for presenting the long-term plan to President Ruto. Sifuna said Nyong'o should have waited for the next administration before unveiling the Vision 2060 plan.
Kila siku wanatuambia ati sisi ni viongozi wa kesho bwana. Na hata hiyo kesho wazee ndio wanataka kutuandikia vile tutaishi hiyo kesho yetu. Yaani hawezi kutuachia hata moja bwana. Mimi namheshimu mzee anaitwa Nyong'o. Lakini mzee Nyong'o, wewe ungengoja miezi 12 vijana wachukue hii inchi ndio utuletee hiyo plan ya 2060. Hawezi keti chini kuku na vifaranga ziandike hadi vile zinataka kuishi mpaka 2060, alafu hiyo mpango unapelekea mwewe. Kazi ya mwewe ni nini? Kazi ya mwewe ni nini?
DCP leader Rigathi Gachagua has renewed his criticism of the DCI over the murder of Dr. Victoria Mutiso. Gachagua claims 2 police officers linked to the case, Inspector Kenneth Kipkemboi Sang and Police Constable Bet Kiplangat Collins, were arrested and later released after allegedly threatening to reveal details of attacks on opposition leaders. However, the DCI has dismissed Gachagua's claims as false, accusing him of seeking cheap popularity.
Sababu ya huyu inspector kuachiliwa ni kwa sababu anasema atatoboa maneno. Yeye ndiye aliongoza ile kikundi ilipiga ACK Witima Church ubaya. Yeye ndiye aliongoza kikosi ilifamia kanisa yetu ya ACK All Saints Cathedral. Sasa anasema akikamatwa atatoboa maneno.
Nigeria's army says it has rescued 33 people who were kidnapped by armed men in Zamfara state. The victims were abducted while traveling through the Safe area on Saturday afternoon. The army says soldiers and police quickly responded after receiving reports of the kidnapping. The troops later found the kidnappers moving the victims to another location. And that's the truth on Radio Generation. Good morning. I'm Winnie Maganga.
The views and opinions expressed on this program are those of the guests and do not necessarily reflect the views of Radio Generation. Radio Generation assumes no responsibility or liability for the interviewee's views. This is Radio Generation. In the beginning, there was morning radio. But now there is Radio Generation's The People's Breakfast, curious and bold, getting facts from the shadows.
That's what it is.
Now, as the city wakes and secrets stir, a bright new voice shines. The People's Breakfast. Your morning, your voice, your journey. Good morning.
Good morning, my neighbor.
Welcome to the home of hard truths and bold insights, Radio Generation.
Welcome back. It is now 7 minutes but 7 o'clock. How are you doing? I hope you are doing quite well in terms of your health and your wealth. Hata kama umesota, I am sure uko tu sawa, si ndio? Tunaweza tafuta pesa. Alright, a big shout out to everyone who's tuned in. Kuna wale ambao I'm sure wanawatch huko chini ya maji hawajaandika SMS kama MC Tonje kutoka Muhoroni. Douglas Kibogong, I am sure you're somewhere there. So keep on keeping on. And if you'd like to reach us, you can find us on our social media spaces. That is at Radio Gen KE across all of them. Currently on YouTube, we're live. You can make use of the comment section. Right now, though, we want to talk about the state of the nation. And with us is George Ngaira. George is a communication strategist and also a member of the PM party. Yes? George, karibu tena sana to Radio Generation.
Asante sana. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, maybe you can let us know, PM party ni gani?
The People's Renaissance Movement.
Yeah. Hold on. Use this microphone tafadhali. Nimerealize hiyo imezimwa. All right. You are saying something. PM party.
Well, the People's Renaissance Movement, as it's known in short as the PM party, is what now can be considered as the hottest chick in the game. You know, we are the 93rd the 93rd registered
political
party in the country. I think
right.
There hasn't been any yet right now. But, you know, it's a young and fresh party that's looking out to create a platform for young upcoming leaders who want to partake in the daily in the affairs of this country, which has been quite a challenge over the years.
Yes.
And I think those of us who've actually vied, like myself, understand the challenges of what it takes to maneuver between the big parties. And we thought that with the Gen Z movement and you know the interest that young Kenyans have taken in making sure that they partake into the affairs of this country, you know, for the first time you saw young people talking about taxes and percentages.
Oh yes,
a debate that has never been there before. And we thought that many of them might be well-meaning Kenyans that want to be a part of it, but just the infrastructure of the Kenyan politics and what it takes to maneuver within the parties is incredibly difficult. And that's why we said, how about we create a platform that then allows them to get in as many young people as possible into the public office, so that you can begin to bring the change that we so much desire.
Yes.
And that starts in Parliament.
All right. So you are the communications guy for the PM party.
Absolutely.
Who's the party leader?
The party leaders already, it was public. I think we had an NGC a couple of weeks ago, and the designate party leader for the PM party is Honorable Caleb Amisi. Yeah, it was public.
All right. No, it's just that I didn't see it.
Sorry, who's the leader of the party?
The designated party leader of People's Renaissance Movement is Honorable Caleb Amisi, Member of Parliament for Saboti.
Yes.
Caleb,
best yako.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good for him.
All right. But now the party has structures. You have a deputy party leader, sorry. You have, a secretary general and so on and so forth.
We do have a structure that has been in existence, and you know, the register of political parties has a requirement of how you go about that. So you had the neck of the party, and then we had an NGC which was public and it was covered.
Yes.
In which obviously Honorable Amisi was the designate party leader, and so now we're proceeding to the NDC, where now that is again formalized to become very formal. I think it's the only the most youthful party that you can ever have, because nobody in that party is above 40, including the party leader.
Okay. And what is the political ideology for this party? What are the political ideology?
First of all, you have to understand the foundation as to why that party has been formed. It's because we want to do to reform the political infrastructure of the country. We want to create a new generation of leaders. We're saying a new generation of leaders for a new Kenya. And so for us is structural reforms, and then we have those issues that we believe that are pertinent to our country. That has been debated for very many years. You know, Mbuvi, by God's grace, next year I'll be 40 years. So I voted 6 times city. I voted 6 times, 4 presidential elections and 2 referendums. First time I voted was in 2005. That's no referendum, and that time in Westlands, you know, working with Fred Gumo. You know, Fred Gumu, Kangumu, as we used to call him those days, in Parklands there while I was still a student of law. And so I've seen what has what you've gone through the last 6 elections. So we thought that then maybe you can address the elephants in the room that haven't quite been addressed for quite some time. You know, we keep talking about tribalism, we keep talking about corruption, wastage of public funds in government, and we thought that those are the issues that we can be able to do it, and we've actually crystallize them into something we're calling the Big Five. Yes. And that would be the highlight of our NDC tomorrow.
Okay, good stuff.
So you have an NDC tomorrow?
We have an NDC tomorrow at the ASK grounds, the showgrounds at the junction there. It will be a big event.
You know, that there is a new party is a good thing. That there is a party that seeks to have among its members young people is an even better thing.
Yes.
But one thing stands out from even as you're speaking.
Yes.
Given where Caleb Amisi comes from.
Yes.
There are many who will see him as a spoiler.
Yes.
Because this party is announcing not its formation, but it's coming in, its being, at a time when the trajectory of one Sifuna's ascendancy is on an upward trajectory. Okay. And Caleb Amisi has been not overly critical. Let me use, in fact, not critical, I would say he has been cautionary. He has been cautious. He has avoided the trend that people tend to have of wanting to, how should I put it, ride with the wave. He's been saying, guys, you know, we really need to reconsider this thing.
Absolutely.
Now, Caleb Amisi was very much part and parcel of that Linda Mwananchi group.
Yes.
In fact, if I were to believe what he says, let me put it this way, I have no reason to doubt what he says.
Yes.
It is him who came up with that idea to begin with. Okay?
Yes.
Politics being what it is, right now it doesn't matter.
Okay.
Once this particular horse has bolted from the stable, the person who actually captured the horse and harnessed it doesn't really matter. It's the horse that is the focus. Okay? So, when it comes to setting up the party and making the party popular, that is something that I'm sure you've thought of and you are clear about how it is you want to do it. But let me ask the question I always ask of people who belong to political parties. How exactly do you plan to harness and utilize this huge resource we call the youth bulge?
You know, first of all, just to address what you're saying about Honorable Caleb Amisi, I want to inform you that anybody that tries to exercise his constitutional right to be able to express himself, be it as an individual or through an infrastructure like a political party, is just living within the Kenyan constitution, and it doesn't need approval from anybody else. Kenya is a free democracy, and we are very free, and we are free to be able to express ourselves. And so the PM party truly is not about Caleb Amisi. It's the intention of why that structure is there. It's about the young people and what we've been alluding to for a very long time. I think, Buvi, you've noted for years people have been asking which is the Gen Z party, which is the youth party, and all that debates that we've had for a long time. And I think most of us, particularly who are aligned to that type of thinking, that's why I've told you that there are no old people there. It's truly young people.
There are no old what?
People there.
Oh.
Yaani akina City Muga hawako hapo.
No, see. No, I just wanted to be clear.
City was just about, I was just about to say something. There's a rider there. I was saying that while political institutions are not supposed to be with bias, I'm just saying the current face of that institution is very youngish, because we feel that there's a gap. That is what is missing within the political market. It's not that we don't need old people, but old people are already flooded in the market. So we're just trying to bring in the missing link, and that is what it's all about, and not the ambition of Caleb Amisi or the history of Linda Mwananchi, because that's a different debate.
Okay.
You know, that's how you should have started. But I'm going to go with what you said first. There are no old people. I got you. Hiyo nimeshika.
Yeah. There are no old people. Kwani ni uongo?
Hiyo nimeshika.
Hii si ati
No, hiyo nimeshika.
It's not supposed to be a lie.
Huko
There is no country for old folk.
nyinyi ng'ang'aneni huko KANU, mung'ang'ane na
Kwanza KANU ni mzuri sana na wazee.
mung'ang'ane na
It's a decently old party.
mung'ang'ane na UDA.
No.
Sijui DCP.
The UDA is recent. DP is an old
but
party.
you know what I mean.
ODM is an old party. You know those ones. Anything over the age of 20.
You know, in a marketplace, when you're trying to bring in a product,
Yeah.
you know, product differentiation is very important, because if you go into a place and you realize everybody's selling tomatoes and onions, and you feel like maybe I could bring in the avocados so that I can stand out, that's a business tactical business decision that you're making. You're coming in to cater for that. Doesn't mean people shouldn't come there to buy tomatoes or
Actually,
onions.
that is exactly what it means. I have understood you perfectly.
Yeah. So as others are struggling to sell their tomatoes,
Yeah, okay.
you're the only guy with avocados.
Absolutely.
So wewe uko na assured customer.
Tuko chonjo.
All right, sasa hiyo ni sawa.
Yes.
From your perspective, sasa turudi sasa kwa kilichotuleta hapa.
Yes.
Hebu tupatie state of the nation.
From where you sit.
I think Kenya, we are in an extremely good place in terms of our political renaissance, as we're calling it, because the country is now transitioning from the old type of the political culture that was there before. Initially, politics was an area where we used to have just old people, and you had to work until you retire. That's when most politicians would come in 60 and above and things like that.
But there are some fairly young folks, even from the 2013 after the new constitution.
I'm going to capture that,
Okay.
and I think the history of the likes of what you'd call outliers, like the James Orengo, 1979, 29-year-old comes in, Honorable Kalonzo Musyoka in the 80s. I think Henry Koskei as well came in at a very young age, 79, probably 29, 30 years, and was a cabinet minister, So there's no doubt that in those days we had those outliers that were able to come in, but the culture was that movie, you'd never show up there at 30 or 40-year-old and purport to want to be a member of parliament those days.
Actually, George, your facts are not clear. If you look at the age of people who were in parliament, even right at independence, those people who are young, chief.
I'm saying city...
And I'm moving along.
Okay.
We've always had young people, not just in government, but in senior positions of government, PSs, just as for members of parliament. With Akina Jomo Kenyatta were old. Akina people like Mbioko Nangi became old later. The old people were in their 40s. Most of these fellows were in their 30s.
Yeah.
So when you talk about something that is youthful, we are not inventing it now. We've had it. If we are having it again, good for us.
Perhaps what I would say, as he makes his point clear, is it's kuna wakati, and especially for our generation, millennials, ilifika mahali bwana tumekuwa na those old folks for a very long time. And I say old, I mean guys who got in during that time that you're talking about. It got to a point whereby we didn't know anyone else in politics if their name wasn't to be what, if their name wasn't Joseph Kamotho, if their name wasn't Matiba. Hiyo ndio unfortunately rende tuligro tukijua.
You see, Paul, what I'm saying, if he listens, I'm actually agreeing with you.
Okay.
What I'm actually saying is this. When young people come in, as those people did, they grow in the system, and you see them for a very long time.
Yeah.
If they had come in when they were older, they would have expired earlier. But we saw them for that length of time because they had joined when they were young.
Absolutely.
And in those days, we used to retire at, say, 55. But man, when somebody joins at the age of 30, that's 25 years. It's a very long time for somebody to be in the system.
Kweli.
Even if it's 35, that's a clear 20 years. So it isn't as though we didn't have young. In fact, we've always had young people.
Yes.
The period when it ceased to be young is when these young people started getting old.
Yes.
And they were in the system.
Yeah.
Okay?
I hear you.
That, yes. I just wanted us to be clear about that one.
My hint was that those were outliers. Then the volume was a few people of them. But nowadays, Parliament is very much young, if you look at it.
But
Yeah.
George,
Extremely young.
George, remember also, we didn't have a youth bulge.
Okay.
We had young people. Our population wasn't that big. And the people who we tended to see in large numbers were these middle-aged people. They were the majority. Right now, this pyramid is inverted completely. Yes. So, again, your party is extremely relevant if you look at what we're now dealing with. It's absolutely relevant. Just like people have the Green Party, people have socialists, communists. It is absolutely a good thing for you to have a party and you say, guys, we prefer to focus on the young people. Those who are old and wish to join, by all means come. But our focus is on the young people.
And you couldn't have put it any better. I think the presser we had on Thursday, that is what we alluded to the media. And we were very clear, movie that the party belongs to everybody, but we are very intentional about young people.
Yes.
Maybe what Kenyans do not know that when we had the recent by-election in Kalau, and we asked whoever wants to come and participate, because it's our democratic right to participate in the elections.
Yep.
And we're coming up with a candidate. There was a millionaire candidate who walked into our offices and wanted to run on our party ticket in Kalau. But the party said no. We took a 26-year-old hawker and said this is what this party represents, and made sure we took him to the ballot.
How old was this billionaire?
I'm saying
millionaire. Sorry,
there's a millionaire aspirant that came there. Somebody that is fairly doing well, who had his own resources, and anybody in the party would have been happy to have him as a candidate, because then he's able to mobilize the party. But the party said no, and we took a 26-year-old hawker, Timothy Kariuki, to go into that ballot. Not necessarily because he was a big candidate, but we want first of all to ensure that a representation of what the intention of the party is, which is to create a platform for young people. And I think to just answer to what you're saying about the state of the nation, that's what I was saying, that we are now getting into a space where now the Kenyan government and Kenyan affairs, young people are fully getting involved in it, and we're in a place where now at least we can participate and make a difference.
Yeah. And do you think, because actually in the hour before you walked in, I was telling City that young people are there, wameshajipanga, wamejitokeza, they have expressed their interest, and they are now stepping into these particular spaces, leadership spaces, whether it's the MP positions or MCAs and so on and so forth. I don't know if that is something that you can also say you have witnessed or seen happen.
Young people getting into political spaces, vying for these positions, and
are they capable of doing it?
Leadership is not a beauty contest where you just look at a person and say they can do it or not. It's a question of...
It's not a beauty contest.
Some people get voted in because they are liked. It has nothing to do with their ability.
But it's not really the main rider as to why somebody is elected. We don't elect you according to looks, because they say beauty is in the eyes of the beholder. I might think
Sakaja elected your dimples.
For those who like it, for those who are his type.
No.
You understand?
Paul, people say that, but that is not true.
City, of course, it might sound facetious, but let me tell you something. Mimi, when I was during the campaign during the election day, mimi sikudanganyi, the majority of folks I met, and when I say majority of folks, I'm talking about the ladies, the only thing they were talking about Sakaja was the dimples.
Listen. My teacher in campus, my extremely wonderful teacher of psychology, young little lady called Kiremana from Meru, who was my lecturer for psychology, taught us something that human beings, we are all not wired to think and operate in the same ways. And that's why he told me that if you go into town, top of a building, and look at people walking around who could be purportedly couples, you'll be shocked at what is there. You find a tall person with a very short person, you find a yellow one with a black one, because beauty is in the eyes of the beholder. So you can't say that person was, because I look in a certain way, then I'm going to attract so many voters because of my looks, because not everybody is into who you are. People are different. So by any means, I think my rider still goes into clearly that we do not, elections is not a beauty contest, so you cannot just look at a person.
So what are elections if they're not beauty contests?
It's not a beauty maybe the beauty of ideas, but not beauty in the context of what you're trying to allude to.
Do I understand you, Joy, to be saying that people elect on the basis of the ideas that people have? Is that what you're saying?
I was on another show midweek this week. I was on the last
week, you mean?
this Tuesday.
Today's Monday.
Oh yeah,
It was last week.
Last week, and we are having this debate with my friend Eric Latif, and he was saying, do Kenyans vote emotionally or rationally? And first of all, I dismissed the idea of emotional being a factor here, because all human beings on earth, whenever they're going to make choices, they make them emotionally. But the only thing that varies is the bias that you have, that I'm voting because this person is my community, or somebody else could be voting because he's my friend, or is a brother from where I come from. So that personal bias is what brings the rationalism into my decision. Otherwise, emotions are all constant across the board.
Okay.
And so I think for me, to answer what City is saying, do people vote based on ideas? And I'm telling you, it's not necessarily ideas, but I can say personal bias.
Okay, allow me to introduce our other guests. This is Titus Mohanu. Titus, good morning and welcome back to Radio Generation.
Good morning, Paul.
Nice to have you here with us.
I'm grateful to be here. Good morning, City.
Good morning.
First of all, I must tender my apologies to our viewers. Yesterday, we were so much busy at the constituency, that is Dagoretti North constituency, where I'm vying as the MP for 2027. So by the time I saw the notice, I mistook it for 8. So I have to tender my unreserved apologies to our viewers.
Wanasemanga better late than never.
Yes,
Karibu sana.
sure, asante.
All right.
Yeah.
On that issue of voters,
Yes.
you're looking at becoming MP. Do you think your voters will vote for you based on the issues, emotions, or is it a mixed kind of approach?
Issues is the last thing that voters want to listen about. This is based on the experience, and I've said it on a number of times without count, that every election cycle, and we have witnessed it since 2002 in this country, and I think even from previous years, even though I was not young enough to analyze, but as from 2002 I was old enough to analyze and understand politics. In every election cycle, there is always that sense of belonging, first of all, as the first determining factor.
Okay.
And in terms of a sense of belonging, there are so many variables that fall inside there. Number one, the variable of tribe. Number two, the variable of euphoria, or the political, temperatures at the time. Number three, and which is the most important thing, the boogeyman of that election, the subject of that election. And I say this with very tremendous respect to all the election cycles, because if you look at the election of 2002, the outgoing regime, the KANU regime, was the subject of the election. In 2007, Kibaki and his regime was the subject of the election. In 2013, 2017, Raila Odinga was the subject of the election. And all that people were, for example, and in 2022, the subject of the election was Uhuru and Raila.
In
2022, sorry.
Okay.
2022. And you remember the narratives like, it is the hustlers versus the dynasty. If we do not unite, the dynasties will ensure that the child or a son of a chicken farmer,
Of a peasant.
will never rule or lead this country. And the narrative that was there, that became very easy to be bought, was that the hustlers need to be elevated. But if you look at it critically, there was some bit of emotions inside that narrative of hustlers. For your information, the Raila faction had promised Kenyans 6,000 shillings every month.
Right.
And that was a very good model, but nobody wanted
No. It had promised.
Yes.
Those were below the poverty line.
Yes.
Yes.
Particularly the old people.
Yes. It is a concept.
Yeah.
It's a universal concept that the Kenya Bureau of Statistics coined.
Yeah.
The 6,000 was what they deemed to be the lowest possible amount that somebody can actually survive on, and they were basing it in Nairobi.
Correct.
On a monthly basis.
Correct.
Yes.
Yeah. So you can see, but when it came to the election time, to the voting day, people never bothered about that. They were saying that this Ruto that has been condemned as a thief, that has been condemned as a bad person, that is the person we want. And even in 2027, I can tell you and our viewers that this election is going to be about Ruto and nothing else. It's it's everybody against Ruto. That's why when you go to the ground and you start telling people people listen very vaguely about your
Very selectively.
Yes, about your
Issues.
your agendas and your issues. Actually, we have been traversing throughout the country, and I can tell you, in most parts of this country, Western, Nyanza, Dagoretti North, where I come from, before you even address the party, the password is, are you Sifuna? Are you Linda Mwananchi? That is what we are talking about.
That is the password.
That is the password. If you don't click that password, it becomes very difficult for you to address any gathering. City, I can assure you.
No one is. It's no longer about one term or two term. It's are you Sifuna?
Are you Sifuna? Are you Linda Mwananchi? And then the general mantra is, are you one term? Now, if you come as two term, you will be required to do so much.
Okay.
You will require to facilitate and all these people. You will need to buy their audience.
Some access
Yes.
fees.
Inaitwa pesa ya kiwanja.
Tulikuwa tunauliza pia swali niliuliza George hapo awali on the issue of the state of the nation.
Okay.
Where do you think we are? And you hukumaliza kujibu hiyo swali, so I'll come back to you.
Okay.
But yes, state of the nation.
Yes, it's quite interesting, and in the recent days I have seen that this government, under the leadership of the president, they have now launched, or they are focusing on now launching something else called the Vision 2060. And it is a replica of what is contained in Vision 2030.
How so?
Because they want to move this country from a developing country to a middle income country.
Okay.
And those are things that are already envisaged in the Vision 2030. And it is so sad that we are struggling with launching another long-term plan. Yet, if we go back to the basics, for example, just ensure that things like healthcare and the health sector is working, make sure that education is working by ensuring that you put in a funding model that sustains every student and every school-going child in this country, ensuring that money that is collected through taxes is not stolen by a few individuals, such that now we have been relegated to a position whereby we are paying so much in debt. We need to look at auditing this public debt, because there is a serious conversation around it, because Kenyans are asking, how comes this debt never goes down? We have been paying it since independence, and how comes it never reduces? So when Kenyans ask for those kinds of that kind of information, disclosure of information and material, information is important. We need to ensure that we go back to the basics of complying with the rule of law and the constitution. So many court orders are being disobeyed. We have got so many court orders that are being disobeyed. We've got orders to the extent that the police have been ordered that anytime they are trying to monitor protests and demonstrations, police officers should clearly identify themselves. They should not barricade roads. They should not be wearing balaclavas and masks. And arrests should be done in dignified manner. Most of these court orders are always violated. Okay. And you see, so there is rampant and runaway corruption.
Yes.
Those are things that need to address, because these are the things that have in the totality of everything have made the lives of Kenyans unbearable. That's when we say the cost of living has gone high. So if we go back to the basics, we really don't need to launch Vision 2060. We just need to ensure that Vision 2030 is fully achieved, which actually has been achieved to some extent, because Vision 2030 is not just about the shiny things. Vision 2030 is one of the mantra that brought us the new constitution.
Yeah. So
you can see already the SGR, even though it has got its problems, it is one of the things that had been envisaged there. Thika Road, superhighway, it was one of the things that was envisioned there. So if we just go back to already what we have, we don't need to launch new, long-term plans or short-term plans or mid-term plans.
But if 2030 vision comes to an end, what then do we do? Or better, let me ask, what would you do if 2030 comes to an end and that vision comes to an end? What then do we do?
There is a steering committee which is headed, I think, by a CEO that is mandated to direct the implementation of Vision 2030. Yes. That is the committee that can give us a report as to the status of what has been done. And if there is an extension, I think they can seek the mandate through the through the relevant channels. But for the president to be advised by a few individuals whom I respect. Someone like Professor Nyong'o is someone that I respect. But, there is already a system in place, and if there is an extension, that extension ought to have come through the recommendation of this committee. Because for me, that kind of extension is whimsical. It has got no, locus. And you can see now, as from August of 12th, that's when public participation regarding that issue of Vision 2030 is going to be launched. And I am sure Kenyans will give their opinions, and their opinions will align with what I'm saying today.
Do we know that the Secretariat of Vision 2030 did not give an opinion as to the extension? Do we know for a fact that this is just some whimsical idea that the president and 3 of his best friends have come up with?
Going by what we call deductive logic, coming from the known to unknown, it is highly possible that steering committee did not give any recommendation, because from the way the president was talking, and we've seen how the president issues, statements, based on misinformation. So I will not be surprised if at all there was no concrete report that has been issued by that steering committee. In any case, if there was a concrete report that ought to have been issued or was issued, it ought to have been published. I have tried looking for it. I have not seen it. I have not seen any statement from that steering committee. Yes.
Initially, I had similar sentiments. For example, why are we coming up with a new vision? 2030 tumeifanyia nini? So for sure, even when the president was delivering his speech on that Thursday that he did. But I got to a point whereby, because again, we've had very many conversations on that same issue here on this show. And I figured out, okay, because Vision 2030 is definitely coming. And 2030 will be gone. So when we get into 2031, for example, we're still not going to be talking about Vision 2030 in 2031. We're not going to be talking about Vision 2030 in 2035. My opinion is, just like the way you have a new security officer at your home, if the first one wasn't working, you fire them, you hire a new one, and you continue with your security agenda. So in my opinion, I agree with you. We're saying the same thing, just differently. We should do an audit for sure. See what has been achieved, what hasn't been achieved, include it in this 2060. If you are going to call it 2060, of course, right now we're just saying Vision 2060. If we're going to call it Vision 2060, and we continue with it. I don't know, maybe George, you can, or you want to say something?
Just a little. Sure. Even if Vision 2030 comes to an end, that will not mean that the country will not move. Because the most important thing in this country is that we've got the Constitution of Kenya. And if everything is managed and administered according to the Constitution, we do not need to worry about Vision 2030, Vision 2060. To me, Vision 2060 is a distraction by this regime. They want to use it as a distraction so that they confuse Kenyans, they defocus Kenyans from making this regime one term. Yes.
Okay.
But everything that I hear you say points towards a narrative of delegitimizing the president and the presidency, so that anything and everything that they say makes no sense, and it's only window dressing and sending the citizenry on a wild goose chase. The things you say are weighty, and in the absence of evidence, what then can we say you are saying? You see, if you are suggesting that we don't need development plans, we don't need an agenda that focuses the country's development in the coming years, and you're simply saying that we have a constitution and that is enough to guide us, that statement by itself is absolutely false, and you know it.
No, that's not what
the constitution is a structure within which we need to function, and if you cannot give details as to what it is you plan to do, what are you going to do? How do you give direction as to what needs to happen?
To stop abductions, do you need any legislation? The Constitution says...
No.
I'm coming to your question.
No. I am talking about development.
Correct.
Because 2030 talks about development. Discuss development. When you're through with it, then let's talk about how the law is broken and how people abrogate the Constitution. I am talking about the need to have a plan for the direction the country ought to be going. That's what I'm talking about specifically.
Okay. First of all, we have the Ministry of Planning, and they have got a very good roadmap.
It's actually a department now. It's under the Ministry of Treasury.
Yes. And they have got a very good roadmap on where this country needs to move. But most importantly, if you say that you must have a plan for you to realize development, that statement is fallacious, CT. Reason being, Ruto had a very gallant plan, a very shiny, manifesto. Hustler, I want to elevate the poor people, the Mukokoteni, the Mama Mboga, I want to elevate them. He even came up with a hustler narrative, and he tried to implement it. Why did it crumble? Because they are not following the laid down regulations and the constitution. There was so much of misappropriation of this money, a lot of theft. The Auditor General said that he is borrowing 3.5 billion every day, and we do not see where that money goes. And yet there is a plan as to where that money goes. Why do you think it has failed? Because he does not want to comply with the law. He does not want to comply with the constitution. So we cannot legislate on everything. For example, by the way, countries like UK do not even have constitutions, but things are running. There is a rule of the thumb which is called the rule of common sense and decency.
They have what you call tradition.
Customs of usage.
Yes,
and
that
Magna
is
Carta.
what the function
Yes.
is. Yes.
So even in the absence of strict laid down laws, systems can still work if you just apply rules of decency and common sense. And this one, I can hand them down as this. Just stop being greedy and ensure that you serve Kenyans. You even don't need these laws as it is. Systems will work if people in this government stop being greedy and thieves.
George amenyamaza sana. George,
and if someone thinks that I do not have evidence, or someone thinks that I'm not saying anything that is
Actually,
true,
it isn't someone. It is me.
okay, CT, if you think I am not making any sense, well, I'm not saying the truth.
It makes sense.
If I'm not saying the truth,
don't
CT,
support it with evidence.
take me to court. Because here we're in a studio, not in court.
By the way, well said.
You know what's funny is that having spent 20 years in what I would consider a tumultuous journey with the late Raila Odinga, and anytime we protested on issues that we thought are relevant to us, particularly those who believed in that cause, that would have government folks always telling us we are the enemies of progress, you are the destroyers, you are destroying our economy. Anytime you want to raise an issue that is public, they say, these people don't know how to build, you're not industrious, and all this debate. Kenyans already spent millions, if not billions, on the Vision 2030 board, which had a blueprint of what the country is supposed to be. In countries where development is structured, presidents are not elected to come up with new visions. They come in with find what has already been put in place, and then the competition is as to who is going to implement it best, because already you know what you're supposed to do. And so when you have a president that comes in and goes off, the first president to go off this Vision 2030 plan was actually President Uhuru Kenyatta. He didn't quite follow what Kibaki had put in place in terms of what they considered the main movers of the pillars of this project.
They were political. There was a political pillar, a social pillar, and an economic pillar.
Absolutely, because one, they insisted that we needed political stability must be guaranteed. That's why we had now to deliver the new constitution with the new format of leadership, so that power is cascaded to the counties. Nowadays, at least, even if you lose an election, you can walk out with governors and things like that. Then your party can be able to exercise some form of authority. And I guess the political pillar was achieved to some extent.
Okay.
And then we had the social pillar, where now people had to how do we then create a society that is harmonious, and what are the issues that we are struggling with, which is diversity, tribalism in government and things like that, which were critical to having an harmonious society. And then now economic, which is, I guess, the debate that we're having. And I was going to answer him what he was saying about development, that why he was insisting, my brother here at Titus, why is he fighting development, you understand, quote unquote. And I'm saying that we already spent millions in setting up our vision, and we know what you're supposed to do. And in project management, what you do is that you go through the entire project until to its completion, then do an assessment, then check the gaps, and that is what you build on. So we cannot begin to talk about a new development blueprint when we still have 4 or 5 years to go. I tell you this, the 290 billion or 300 billion that is purportedly being going to be invested in JKIA, I've always said, because from where we sit, particularly for those because of us as PM. One of the highlights of tomorrow's event you're going to see of the Big Five is jobs and employment, because we believe that's where the young people come into play. 10 to 15 million Kenyans are not in permanent and pensionable positions. That's what they're looking forward to. And therefore, if you can give somebody the dignity of having a job and be able to work, many of his other problems actually are sorted. And so you can imagine what 300 billion would do. We decided that on our own assessment is that if we could put $1 billion in every constituency, which is 290 billion, it's possible for us to do at least 10 cottage industries in every constituency. Those are 2,900 factories. And you can imagine what that means if it can create jobs for at least 500 to 1,000 people. Those are 2.9 million jobs in a year. What is just going to run? So when you look at the impact, you can't compare, even though I do believe we need a good, decent airport to mirror what's happening in the global space within JKIA, but you wouldn't be able to assess, you can't compare the impact of what that would do. If, for example, both of us were given 300 billion shillings and you decide to do, or I decide to do a fantastic airport, but you choose to go and build 3,000 factories, the impact is just unbelievable. It shows that the government hasn't quite put the priorities of where the Kenyans are, because for us our focus is on unemployment, because that's where we are, and that's why we are not ashamed of being young. I wanted to tell City that we are not ashamed of being young and fresh and being a support base for particularly the new generation of Kenyans that just want to have a decent job, have good families, and be able to raise their families and take care of themselves. We don't really want to bother ourselves with the issues that are being put into play, as many people are trying to allude to. And one of the things that we've been accused for, you and I raised it at the beginning, that Caleb Amisi was in Linda Mwananchi. What is happening? We never left Linda Mwananchi. What we're doing is that we're just trying to build an infrastructure that then can be able to, because those of us who run for office, I've run for Member of Parliament, and I can tell you twice, and I can tell you the struggle that it was to just get the ODM ticket at that particular time. It's not a joke.
Did you get it, by the way?
I tell you what happened in Westlands, and that time we ended up consolidating ourselves, because that time Kidero was governor, so it was 2017, and some black characters were coming into play in Westlands, were trying to win that seat, the Jubilee Fox at that particular time, and out of strategy, we decided that we all coalesce around Team Wanyonyi, and then we can be able to sort ourselves in the other place. But you see, I'm informed of what happens. But in the recent Malava by-election, where I ran actually and came forth without really campaigning that much, because again, we found ourselves in a situation where we had UDA and its sycophants all over Malava constituency, which is, by the way, city where I come from. The beautiful land of Kabras, where Kabras sugar comes from, and we again made another strategic decision to be able to coalesce around Seth Panyako, who was considered a lead candidate for that particular race, and we didn't necessarily go.
So UDA, proxy in the opposition.
Absolutely, and we're just happy that he's left. And we are happy that he's left, because we knew it from the very beginning.
Who was the Smurf?
Panyako. And we knew it even before the election that this guy, even if he gets elected, he's going to run back to his master. And we saw him in State House.
Absolutely.
Behaving like a puppy.
And that was it's a fact. We had a meeting. I remember that time the candidates in between the by-election after we had been cleared, because I was cleared right after him. He was cleared at 10 and I was cleared at midday. And immediately I was called. I said, Ngaira, please, you don't need to be in this race, so that we need to coalesce and make sure we take out. Because Farouk had spent months and months and months around Malava to a level where he had become a common enemy. And I said, well, I already told my people that we are on the ballot, and they told me I should not be telling them lies. If I've decided that I'm going to the ballot, they shouldn't hear that I've been bought. And so I can't go back to them and tell them, no, I'm stepping aside. What I'm going to do, I'm going to not campaign, and then just allow the nature to take its course. And surprisingly, people still showed up and voted for me. About 300 or so votes. I wondered who took them there. I guess the vibe was there. But I'm happy that he's left, because all along I knew that he was never an opposition candidate. I raised it on the table in one of the meetings we had with the campaign team that we had in Malava, the opposition team. I told them, I don't believe this character is one of us. I know him, but they insisted.
Provocateur.
But sometimes we get too emotional and people don't want to. They just say, we provided Ruto goes, or provided so and so goes, and they do not want to see what the alternative was. And I told them, even if we get this guy elected, I'm very sure a week into his day in Parliament will see my status, and I think I'm now proven I'm vindicated with that I said on that table.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. getting back to the whole conversation of the direction that the country is taking, I'm still for the idea we need solid, because at the end of the day, without solid plans, whether they are coming from the president or they are coming from Sifuna, what exactly is it that we as Kenyans are going to be voting for come 2027? We need someone to tell us, and it's I don't know how to put this in words that can actually sound politically neutral, but it looks like President Ruto is the only guy who has a plan. Hakuna mtu mwingine amepeana plan.
Movie, you've not been listening to Linda Mwananchi rallies.
Clearly I haven't.
Yes.
But
Mbuvi, first of all, William Ruto and this regime should be the last people to ask anyone about any plan.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because they purport to have had a solid plan. They have failed to implement that plan. So if you have failed to implement your own little plan, what gives you the range to ask anyone else who has a plan? The only people who are entitled to ask any person who has desired or expressed interest to, take over the reins of power in this government are the legitimate and the good people of this republic. But UDA, Kenya Kwanza, and William Ruto combined, they should not even be asking us. When we get to any debate with them, they should not, because they had their plan and they have failed. So they should just sit in the audience and wait. Let our Kenyans ask those questions to us. But most importantly, we as Linda Mwananchi have got a very solid plan.
All right.
And we have been saying it in our campaigns. For example, we have taken this regime to the task that why should the problem about housing in this country, it's not about the concrete things and moving people into these shiny houses. The issue of housing stems from income and sources of income. And I have given this example in many forums, that when you get a young man graduating from university moving to the city, they will settle in an informal settlement within the city. Kibra, these informal settlements. But when that person gets a job, they will be able to move from that place to another place, to a more decent place with proper housing facilities. And that is the question that bedevils most of these people that live in these informal settlements. They don't live there by choice. It is their level of income that has forced them. If today you empower those people living in Kibra, Mkuru kwa Njenga, let them have stable incomes, let them have opportunities, they will move from those places and will not have any slums from in this country. The thing you're seeing about, the housing plan that the president and his government is trying to tell us, it is about personal business. Because ask yourself, when was the procurement? When was the advertisement for these housing programs done? What are the companies that are doing it? Who is supplying the cement? Who is supplying sand? All these things were done in an opaque manner. And the moment it's opaque, as confirmed by the Auditor General, these are meant to benefit certain individuals. And we know. In fact, the Auditor General has said that 80% of these houses, the purported owners are not going to have titles. So how can you say that you own houses yet you don't have a title?
Why wouldn't they have titles?
Because in Kenya, there is no law that regulates conversion of public land to private land.
Okay.
So that has not been done. So it's not going to be possible. And the Auditor General has flagged it.
Okay.
But most importantly, we as Linda Mwananchi, we have been talking about these things. We want very basic things that will elevate Kenyans. We want free education. If Kibaki did it in 2002, it's possible to do it now because even our budget is bigger. We need to ensure and strive to ensure that healthcare is free in this country. There are countries, Scandinavian countries, healthcare is free. We have to ensure that this business of government being the biggest share of, borrowing money from banks, it has to stop, because with that, citizens, people in the lowest cadre have been cut out of credit facilities and access to credit facilities. And when you cut out the common Mwananchi from credit facilities, there is no money in their pockets.
Okay.
We have to ensure that the constitution is adhered to. We have spoken to Kenyans and they're telling us that they prefer a government that does not build them houses but respects the constitution. Their children are not abducted. Their children are not killed. People are not forcefully disappeared. So we are speaking to Kenyans. And most importantly, we are Kenyans have also told us that this fake debt needs to be audited, and it's one of the 10-point agenda that William Ruto and the Kenya Kwanza administration agreed with Baba before he died.
Okay.
The problem is that he never wants to go back there. And remember, he told us just before he was elected, and he used it as a mantra, that when you find yourself in a hole, you stop digging. He was referring to the debt, that now that we have got this huge debt which we can't understand where it came from, we have to stop borrowing. You remember him telling us he does not understand why fuel passes through Kenya to Uganda, but fuel is more cheaper in Uganda than in Kenya. What happened to those things? So these are the things that we are telling Kenyans. Okay. So we have an agenda. It is a narrative that unfortunately has been steered by him and his Kenya Kwanza regime to make it look like we don't have any agenda. No, we have an agenda. But most importantly, he does not have the locus to ask us.
George, before you get there, Bwana Makanu, yes, the Land Act actually does provide Section 9 of how you can convert public land to private usage. So that law actually exists. That's only the point I need to make.
Okay.
Yes.
But maybe to clarify, the reason why that has never been done is that no county assembly, no national assembly has ever sat to give consent. Because remember, when you're doing a transfer, you must have the requisite consent from the county assembly or the national assembly. Because this is public land.
Actually, there's a lot of things you need to do. For instance, you need to determine that public land is no longer needed by the public, just for starters.
Correct.
Yes. And then
public participation must be done.
Then there's a raft of other things that you must qualify for before. My point was
the law exists.
That's all I was saying.
Okay.
Yes.
I think, Buvi, there's an assumption that in this country that the only thing that constitutes a plan is when you have a brick and mortar type of a proposition to the public, is when that is considered a plan. But you've seen elsewhere across the world, for example, remember what happened in Philippines when President Duterte ran on only one issue: I'm going to fight crime, and he went so hard on criminals in Manila and the country, and that's all what people voted for him for. He didn't come. I looked at the manifesto. He didn't go big on the brick and mortar, proposition that I'm going to build roads, I'm going to do this lights, because of course government is in existence, there are departments that do that, but he picked out an issue that he bbelieved was a standard issue, so that he can be able.
Can you say? Do you know why he picked on that?
Well, that's him, but I'm just saying it's possible that you don't necessarily have to, because you have
a long list
of issues. You can. That's why everybody creates his own manifesto. UDA and PM party are not twins. Actually, to be able to have a similar, we don't have to have a similar solution to Kenyans. There's what we consider as a priority, and that's why I've said, Buvi, that one of the standout issues tomorrow is going to be the Big Five proposal from the PM party. And when you look at it, we've looked at purely social issues. We've said, while you want us to talk about roads and the airports and the billions of shillings type of projects, we want to see good governance. And so for us, our focus will be on how do we do structural reforms to be able to save billions of taxpayers' money that is wasted in government. You understand? Kenyans went and put into the 20 constitution were very clear when they said we only want a maximum of 22 ministries. They did so because of what the kind of wastage that was there in that grand coalition government, where we had almost 40 ministers, if you remember very well. And so they said, no, we have to put a caveat here so that we can be able to save taxpayers' money. It was deliberate. But then you had this government and the government of Uhuru Kenyatta that came into play, and actually went below the constitution, expanded the departments to, I think President Uhuru Kenyatta left them at 41 or 42 state departments. This president came in and actually expanded them to around 51 or 52 state departments, and the so-called broad-based government expanded it to 58 state departments. You can imagine. You have $150 billion economy, having 58 state departments, and yet the US has a $30 trillion economy, has just about 20 state departments. You understand? It just doesn't work. It's not efficient. So you can go to Kenyans and say, my only business is to ensure we execute structural reforms. They're going to cut down the state departments to mirror the ministries and maybe have 22 state departments. And the so-called functions that have been given to the PSS can then become the directorates within the ministries, so that we do not have idle workers. If you go to the ministry, most of these ministries, you have a lot of the directors within the ministries who are now completely idle because most of their functions have been usurped, because you're the director of economic planning at the treasury, but the president has an economic committee purported that sits in status, again with its unique budget in billions, the one of Kinandi, doing the job.
So many idlers around.
So many idlers.
Public funds. In State House, I'm told. In State House, there are so many people who just sit around and take tea.
And those
ones who want to come and see the president.
And we've actually gone ahead and done what it means to do structural reforms. If you have to be able to cut down the state departments from the 58 state departments to mirror the ministries and say end up with 22 state departments.
Yeah.
And we realize we're able to cut two major costs. One is the wage bill Libya itself naturally goes down, even though we can be able to reallocate the public servants, because we have other arms of government like the judiciary which are completely understaffed. So when you say structural reforms, does not necessarily mean firing people, but you can just redistribute people so that they can be fruitful.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I need to cut you. We need to get into the news. When we come back, of course, we're still with you, gentlemen. And I want to appreciate what, Titus, you've done, because you have done something that hasn't been done in a very long time here. Because every time we host people from the opposition, the only thing they do is point out what President Ruto is not doing or what he has done wrong. But for the first time, I actually see a plan in the making.
There is a plan.
Sasa hiyo ndio kitu
nitawapongeza. PRM that they need to come back home. Our little brothers, they need to come home.
But what is surprising, the same is being said of you by certain members of that other ODM.
You need to come back home.
No, those ones chased us. They chased us. PRM, we didn't chase them. ODM, they chased us.
No, they didn't chase you.
No, they did.
They removed Sefuna from his post, but he's still a member of ODM.
No. They chased him. They chased us and they told us.
Has he ceased to be a member of the ODM?
Of course, that is a process that is still being challenged in court, and he has got that right. He has not exhausted his appeal channels to the Supreme Court.
So he's still a member of the...
He is.
Guys, news kwanza.
Radio Generation, the home of urban soul. This is the Radio Generation News.
Good morning, I'm Winnie Maganga. Police have recovered 249 sheep and goats stolen during a bandit attack at Malka Boje Water Point in Isiolo North. The livestock were recovered on Sunday after multi-agency security team tracked the suspected raiders to Losesia in Samburu East. The National Police Service says officers intercepted the raiders at Daraja ya Mungu and recovered all 249 animals. Police are continuing with efforts to track down and arrest the suspects. Fraud is becoming an increasingly sophisticated form of organized crime, with criminals using technology and artificial intelligence to steal billions of dollars from individuals and businesses. The UN Office on Drugs and Crime says fraud involves deliberately deceiving people or organizations to obtain money or other valuables. UNODC reports that 85% of Interpol red notices issued by member countries in 2022 and 2023 were linked to financial fraud. Public Service Cabinet Secretary Geoffrey Ruku has called on Kiama Council of Elders to distance itself from what he described as former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua hatred narrative against people from Mount Kenya East. Speaking in Kitui County on Sunday, Ruku says the elders should publicly reject Gachagua's remarks if they do not agree with him. He warned that their silence could fuel calls to politically and economically separate Mount Kenya East from Mount Kenya West.
Mimi naomba musije mkasikia yeye. Musije mkasikia yeye. Na mtaonyesha mumusikii kama wazee wa kiama. Wazee wa kiama. Wala ni wazee wa Kikuyu. Kama wataungana pamoja. Wakiwa wote pamoja siku moja. Wakiwa 10,000 waseme dhai. Sisi kama wazee wa Kikuyu hatuungi mkono huyu mkora, hatuungi mkono huyu mtu mtukutu anaitwa Rigathi Gachagua.
Deputy President Kithure Kindiki says he will remain in government and continue supporting President William Ruto's administration. Speaking during a church service in Murang'a County on Sunday, Kindiki said he remains focused on his government duties and supporting the administration's development agenda. He dismissed speculation that he could leave the government, saying he remains committed to it.
Unajua, Biblia inasema tangu wakati wa Yohana Mbatizaji mpaka saa hii ufalme wa mbinguni unachukuliwa na wenye nguvu, na wenye nguvu wataingia hapo kwa lazima. Mambo ya ufalme wa mbinguni, kama ufalme wa mbinguni unachukuliwa kwa nguvu, na ufalme wa dunia si ni nguvu zaidi? Na niliwaambia tukitoka kwa serikali watu wengine watakuja waingia kwa serikali, sisi tukae tumeng'ethia hapo na kulalamika. Na mimi nimesema mimi siwezi toka kwa hii serikali. I cannot.
And that's the truth on Radio Generation. Good morning, I'm Winnie Maganga.
Sports on Radio Generation.
Good morning, I'm Samuel Otieno. Algeria, Morocco, Cameroon and Malawi have qualified for the 2027 Women's World Cup in Brazil. The 4 teams reached the semi-finals of the Women's Africa Cup of Nations in Morocco, which is also serving as the World Cup qualifier. Algeria beat Ivory Coast 2-1 while hosts Morocco defeated South Africa by the same score. Cameroon edged defending champions Nigeria 1-0 while Malawi stunned Ghana 2-1. The WAFCON semi-finals will be played on Wednesday with Morocco facing Cameroon and Algeria taking on Malawi. The Arsenal manager Mikel Arteta says new signing Bruno Guimaraes will bring something different to the team. Guimaraes has joined Arsenal from Newcastle United in a deal worth £75 million. The 28-year-old midfielder was introduced to Arsenal fans at the Emirates Stadium before Sunday's match against Borussia Dortmund. He did not feature in Arsenal's 3-2 defeat to Dortmund but could make his debut against Como on Wednesday. And that's your sports update on Radio Generation. Good morning, I'm Samuel Otieno.
Sports on Radio Generation. The views and opinions expressed on this program are those of the guests and do not necessarily reflect the views of Radio Generation. Radio Generation assumes no responsibility or liability for the interviewee's views. This is Radio Generation. In the beginning, there was morning radio. But now there is Radio Generation's The People's Breakfast, curious and bold, getting facts from the shadows.
That's what it is.
Now, as the city wakes and secrets stir, a bright new voice shines. The People's Breakfast. Your morning, your voice, your journey. Good morning.
Good morning, my neighbor.
Welcome to the home of hard truths and bold insights, Radio Generation.
We're back. This is Radio Generation. The time right now is 8 minutes past 8 o'clock. Karibuni tena sana. In studio we have our guests, that is Titus Mahanu and George Ngaira. We didn't give them our methali for the day, City. So let's take this opportunity.
With every week we have new things. Yes, and these gentlemen have brought an exceedingly exciting discussion this morning. So now let us give them a less exciting
wapatie methali ndio maoni yao.
If the full moon loves you, why worry about the stars?
Yes.
Our proverbs the whole of this week come from the Republic of Tunisia. If the full moon loves you, why worry about the stars?
Okay.
Well, that comes close to a bird in hand, you know, is better than two in the bush. That if what is already on the table is enough, you don't really have to work for more.
Okay, interesting. Titus, as you sip your water, yes.
Basically, in life, don't focus more on trivial things or trivial matters. If there is a bigger fish that
Needs
really,
frying.
yes, that can really get you to the destination that you desire.
Okay.
In essence, also some people say that if you embark on a serious voyage, do not stop at every dog that barks at you, because you'll never get to that voyage. That is how I can summarize it.
Enyewe kila mtu amekuja na tabia yake leo.
Cheza na baki.
Focus on the crocodile. Do not be defocused or distracted by lizards.
Okay. Go for the big one, eh?
Correct.
Do not mambi
Sometimes
pambi.
lizards can disguise themselves as crocodiles. Yes.
Mambi pambi nimeiweka place
Hapo
kwa.
umeipata kadhaa. Yeah. No mambi pambi.
Don't mambi pambi.
Yes.
Hii kitu nitaitumia mpaka mtachoka nayo. All right. Let's get back to the conversation. Tulikuwa tunaongelea state of the nation, and I was appreciating not George but Titus and crew, because I feel like this is what now opposition needs to be doing. We already know agenda ni one term.
Yes.
Hii maneno ya kusema sijui SHA is not working, sijui Maori Roni inajengwa kwa sababu gani. I think now what you have introduced as far as this issue is concerned is actually
five pillars, main pillars.
Oh, you have five pillars.
Education, education, healthcare, the public debt, the rule of law, and access to credit facilities by citizens.
Na nyinyi Renaissance movement muko na ni Renaissance movement party ama give us the full name please.
You're gonna have to start respecting this this party called
Actually I do. I actually agree.
What has he done to demonstrate that he doesn't respect the party?
I've forgotten their name.
The votes they got in Olkalau.
No.
But actually you need to improve, because 51 votes actually. But
let me ask you, if you compare
sends very bad signals.
If you compare 51 votes versus no votes, who is ahead of it?
Of course 51 is
way ahead of no votes. We have our big five, and tomorrow that's what you're going to do. It's going to be the highlight of our NDC.
I was asking for the full title of your party, please.
People's Renaissance Movement, which is
PRM. It's just PM.
We ideally were going for PRM, but the ORPP said what's available is PM, because there was another party that had similar initials.
All right.
And that's how we ended up with the PM.
Okay.
So my point was this: that the highlight of tomorrow's NDC is going to be our Big Five agenda, and particularly for us, we've gone for the social issues that we think that the software issues that we think that we need to work on in the government. And I think for us, we say that the elephants in the room have always been that corruption, which is a plan of public resources, diversity in government, which is tribalism. I'm telling you, Mbuvi, you go to some state departments here, you'll think you are in some pit latrine in Bomet, because of just how this president has flooded members of one community or the other community, in particular within the state departments. And I can tell you that you go there, including the police service, you see what's happening today with the issue. I had you talk about the murder issue of the lady there,
Dr. Mutiso,
and how the opposition, Rigathi Gachagua and the other people have approached it. You can see there's a similar pattern of particularly what's happening within the police service within the area. It clearly indicates that even though all Kenyans have a right to work within public service because it belongs to the taxpayers, but the constitution has expressly indicated that it's important that we have a diverse and equitable public service to be able to conduct its services very well.
Are we saying that the police service is full of Kales because the policemen who...
Let me tell you, the National Coalition, NCIC, gave a report that was...
all the OCSs in Nairobi, I think
the national... Listen, the national...
majority.
The National Cohesion and Integration Commission, NCIC, gave a report that was tabled in the Senate, which was from on the Senate regarding to how the diversity of the public service. I'll give you what the report was on the public service. 109,000 police officers, out of which 21,000, the most represented communities, 21,000 and something were the Kalenjins, followed by Kikuyus at 18,000.
Okay.
Sadly, my community, which I believe the Luhya community is the largest community in the country, has just about 8,000 police officers. You can imagine, based on the report that NCIC have, clearly there's no equitable representation there, even if you just by standards by look at that.
Right.
I believe it's because of the years of patronage that we've had through the 20 years of President Moi and President Moi and Uhuru Kenyatta and President Kibaki. That's why all the patterns, when you look, particularly the five big agencies, the National Police Service, the Teacher Service Commission, which it gave, I think, 439,000 teachers that we have across the country. Once again, the largest community at 74,000 74,000 teachers. Again, it's Kalenjin.
Okay.
Understand? Followed by Kikuyu. The pattern of the report as to how the people are employed in the public service, it could tell that it has gone just with the way the presidency has been. One other thing that was of importance to note was that the Central Bank of Kenya, since independence, from Governor Ndegwa, Duncan Ndegwa, going to Philip Ndegwa, to Mika Chesere, Eric Kotut, Njuguna Ndungu, and Patrick Njoroge, all of them, the public of Kenya has... And Kamau Thuge. There has never been a governor of central bank from any other community apart from Kalenjin and Kikuyus for the 60 years of Kenyan Republic. That's why you have to, when I tell you as PM, we are not ashamed of being different. We do it openly. Because we believe a software issue like that one, because it has a very big impact on governance, is that you go to an office where everybody comes from the same village, there's absolutely no accountability, and we're not able to execute our jobs. That is one of the big 5 agendas that we're going to do tomorrow. We are going to handle corruption, tribalism, diversity, the public debt, and the rule of law.
May I ask a question?
Yes.
This is excellent. What you have presented makes perfect sense, and it brings forth that discussion on equity.
Yes.
But are we going to do this of all state departments, all parastatals? Because for us to look at this thing holistically, we really must look at everything that is government and look at that distribution.
We've done that. We've looked at all the 58 state departments. That's why we actually have gone ahead and contextualized them into 22 state departments, because we want to make a proposition to the country that we want the state departments to mirror the ministries and then transfer the functions that are currently being executed by PSs into the directorates, because we have directors within the state departments, that. The Ministry of Health has the Director of Medical Services, who ideally is running errands that are supposed to be done. The PS is running the errands supposed to be done by the Director of Medical Services, you understand? And we ended up realizing that if we're able to attack those two things, the wage bill and there's what you call the cost of operations. When you create a state department, it's not just the salaries of the PAs and the staff. There's rent, steamer, maji, per diems, and all those costs that go with it. We realize that we are going to save at least 350 billion off that budget that we pay, for example, from the wage bill, which comes to about 1.1 to 1.2 trillion, which is the wage bill that the amount we spend on paying salaries. We can be able to cut off almost 300 to 350 billion. And then annually. That is mishahara. And then again, what you're alluding to now, the cost of operations, because we have government agencies that are renting space, they're paying electricity and all that. So that's what you call the cost of operations. We are able to again cut down another 350 billion.
So are you saying, because if we are cutting down on all this, and that means some people will need to be fired?
Listen again, that's why I was correcting you.
Okay.
And because we are trying very much to avoid that assumption that just because you're going to do structural reforms, then it means you're going to fire people. I've told you there are state departments like the judiciary, which has had for a very long time, as part of the judiciary reforms, they wanted to address two key issues within the judiciary. One was the physical infrastructure of the judiciary. That is the number of courts that we have within the country. We have less than, Titus, I think 70 or 80 court stations or something like that. Yet our proposition has been that every county should at least have a court of appeal. Those are 47 court of appeals, and at least make sure to ensure that there's access to judicial services. We make sure that every sub-county has a high court. You understand? The cost of doing a high court division, the cost of doing a high court within a sub-county with 10 divisions, that is the family division, civil, constitutional, there are about 10 of them that we've listed, at a cost of say 5 million a division. Then we had a budget of 50 million, which is able to do some sort of a high court division within a sub-county. That money was just costing 15 billion shillings. The money that President William Ruto is using to host a lot of idlers at State House, 15 billion shillings would give us almost 300 high courts across the country.
George, do you know what you've done?
Yes.
You've answered a question that we always ask in this studio.
Yes.
A segment of it, but you've answered, because you are telling the public what you plan to do.
Yeah.
And it is logical. It makes sense. There's a however to it.
Okay.
The however is that is the symptom. What is the problem that we're dealing with? And if we don't understand the problem, there is no guarantee that the next government will not have the same problem. Why is it that, because this problem is mirrored in the county governments, the laws are clear as to the percentage of whatever share they get that should be used for employment, and they all overshoot it.
City, from where we sit,
Yes.
we've analyzed Kenyan problems into 3 groups.
Tell me.
A bloated government that is corrupt and tribal. A bloated government that is corrupt and tribal.
Why is it bloated? That's the question I'm asking. The why?
Which is what bad governments, which is corruption and tribalism, which is a driver to that. Because then you have people being employed haphazardly just because they come from their communities. There is no focus. If you're running a business, Buffy, there has to be a missing function for you to hire. You don't just hire because you want to fill people in your office. And so that blot then. That then results into what you're having, because we have more staff than what we need within the state department.
Yes, George. What you're saying points to how we politicize the administration of the country. Okay. Why? Because the political thinking is when you want to do someone a favor, you look for a job for them or for their intended, their person, etc., etc.
Yeah.
So when the question is asked by us about the economic plan that one has, if there are opportunities, say within the county government, and the people in that county can see that this is what they can do and this is what they're able to do, and that the economy is vibrant, the need for you to lazily just employ people in the environment department of the county because those are political favors you're doing, would cease. I mean, corruption is a symptom of impunity. Okay? But the impunity that we have also has a source. It starts from somewhere before it manifests. And you are spot on when you talk about the political habits that we have. But I'm asking, how do you get rid of that? How do you guarantee that those who come in will not in time go exactly that same way?
Because you've cut me short, I was going to explain that one of the...
I didn't cut you short, Bwana. That was a pause.
So, even if it's a pause, I was going to...
Did I also not ask for permission before I asked the question? No, I sought your permission.
The beauty is that... the beauty that we have in opposition is that we have so many other talented legal minds, because I was going to tell you that all the big five, which would be the revelation for tomorrow, is that the big five agendas are backed by also a legal reform structure that we have. There's something we want to introduce called the Executive Structure Bill, which then our legal team, and I'm happy, I keep telling my Titus here, we've been planning for a meeting for a while now. I keep telling them that in opposition we need to have a structured mind in such a way that after you do structural reforms where you're able to narrow down state departments into what is sustainable, as what we are proposing, for example, a reduction to about 22 state departments, is that then we enact what you call an executive structure bill that is going to ensure that anybody that becomes president and wants to restructure the state departments, it has to go through what you're doing with the financial bill. It has to be a bill that goes back to parliament, let the quote of the costing of that function that you want to introduce through a state department is debated in parliament through public participation, so that a president doesn't just wake up and adds another bill of about 40 billion to run a state department without consulting the people. Because that's what's happening today. Because today you just need an executive order from the president, and he expands the department from 40 to 50 and is completely costing us Kenyans.
All right.
Yeah. So probably Titus, just to give my contribution, I've picked up 3 things. And one of the things that CT asked is that what is the assurance that we are not going to slide back to this situation that we have? Of course, the reason why one of the things that has caused, a bloated, government, both at the national level and at the counties, is that there's a lot of reward of political cronies. I mean, today we have got people holding offices that are unconstitutional. For example, the office of the PCS. It's unconstitutional. And at some point, they were even yearning and clamoring that the offices of their spouses should also be established. You remember? And I think he had been given demands from somewhere that he has to establish that office. So many people serving in this government with non-existent positions. In State House, I'm told there is a legal department that deals with vetting of all legal matters and who gets paid. And there are so many people running brokerages around State House. That if you want to see the president, you must give me this, you must give that. So if we can clean this system, and the problem comes in with not allowing meritocracy. We need to allow meritocracy. We need to go back to the basics. First, people that are going to be given jobs need to have qualified. Number two, we need to decommercialize public service, such that public service should not be a place where people go to do business. We used to have a regime before 1971, before Kenyatta Commission, the Ndegwa Commission, that allowed public servants to start engaging in business. During those days, public service was working very well, because if you wanted a lot of money, you joined the private sector and do business. But if you wanted to serve the public, you join the public service, and you are not allowed to engage in any form of business. And I think even owning serious properties, you are not allowed. It was until that commission that now people are allowed to engage in business, and that is how corruption crept into public service. Today, public procurement is basically a money-making venture for most of the public servants, senior public servants. So we need to go back to the basics. And as regards the issue of the judiciary, Ngaira, we really don't need a lot of courts in this country. Today, the judiciary is working best under the virtual system. Actually, we need to get rid of these courts and use that money to hire more judicial officers. And in order to bring in efficiency, the Judicial Service Commission must be working. If there are allegations about judges who are corrupt, they should be investigated, processed properly according to the law, and if they are deemed or found to have been committed violations, they should be dismissed. Today the JSC is not working. Anytime you raise a complaint, it will not be, it will be processed through the ranks, but at the end of the day it will be dismissed on account of the judge was exercising judicial independence, even including cases that are clear. This is open, biasness, corruption, and ineptitude and incompetence. So those are the two things that we need in the judiciary. We need to hire more judicial officers, and the JSC needs to start working, so that we have enough workload to clear the backlog, and the workforce that is there is competent. It is not laced with corruption and these excesses.
Yes. And that is something that can be executed through a new government, the office of the president.
It can. That is something. That is something that now needs to start from the judiciary itself, by ensuring that we have a strong, chief justice in the caliber of someone like Maraga. We do not need a chief justice who goes to State House and lines up and claps up for the president. The moment you start having such a chief justice, you will never realize any reforms in the judiciary. A chief justice that goes to State House and claps for the president, waiting for the president, we can never realize any,
Kuna swali
reforms.
Kuna swali hapa Titus imekuwa directed to Linda Mwananchi.
Yes.
I hope I can find it.
Okay.
Come on. It was right here. It was on corruption.
Yes.
If I don't find it, I'll just paraphrase.
Okay.
But that person was asking.
Yeah.
Oh, here it is. Kelvin Wanyonyi.
Yes.
Kelvin ameniambia, Mbuvi, kindly forward my question to the Linda Mwananchi team.
Correct.
How will they handle the issue of debt?
Okay.
It was on debt, not corruption. But yes.
How will we handle the issue of debt?
Yes.
First thing, very simple. We have got a 10-point agenda that William Ruto agreed with Baba, that they must audit the public debt. So that's where we are going to begin. So as soon as we swear in Edwin Sifuna as our president, God willing, at Kasarani, he must issue a presidential decree. No, we won't go there, because that stadium is laced with a lot of corruption. We don't want to start our administration in a stadium that is corruptly constructed. So as soon as he's sworn in, he has to issue a presidential decree that stops payment of the public debt pending an audit. And nobody should worry that we are going to suffer if we stop. Mozambique was in the same position that we were in Kenya. They did an audit. Credit Suisse Bank collapsed, and the people who procured those debts illegally, starting with the serious minister, of finance at the time, the head of intelligence service at the time, all of them were jailed. And the head of the Credit Suisse Bank, the director, was also jailed. So that is where we are going to start. Stop payment of the public debt pending an audit, and let the lenders come so that we have a conversation. We have not refused. If we swear him on Thursday,
yes,
we will be inviting all the lenders that say Kenya owes them money. Let us meet at Harambee House. We are not going to State House. Let us meet at Harambee's.
The office of the president.
Yes, let us have a conversation. Show us how you lend this money. what was the purpose for lending, where is the money, can we see the money in the projects, and whether there was public participation and the constitution was complied with. If they cannot show that, if they cannot prove that, now they should leave Kenyans out of that business.
Okay.
That is how we are going to save this issue of the debt. But we can assist those lenders in showing those people who participated in the procuring that illegal debt.
You start pointing at the people.
Yes, that this is where they live, this is where they bank, these are their children,
Go for
these
your
are
money.
their wives. We can assist you. You can sue them. We can give you the material now that we'll be in charge of the government. We can be joined in those cases as interested parties. But they should leave Kenyans out of that business.
Okay.
This is that in the legal debt, Kenyans need not to be burdened more. So that's how we are going to handle it, Mr. Wanyonyi.
Okay.
Yes.
What about the local debt?
The local debt, same thing. It needs to be audited. You realize that today commercial banks and Kenyan banks are very, very arrogant and notorious. They don't want to give credits to the local Mwananchi because they know they have a big borrower in government. So we even need to find out how comes this kiburi has gotten to this level. There must be a catch in it.
Okay.
Yes, so that's why we need it to be audited. Out of the audit, we'll be able to know how comes the local debt has also escalated to this level.
Yes.
Because government is not in the business of borrowing money from local
Okay.
Money is supposed to be lent to Kenyans so that they can have money in their pockets.
Gaira, how would a Renaissance government sort out issues to do with employment?
There's a principle of public finance management that money borrowed should strictly go into investments and development and not any other recurrent expenditure. And those who are in charge of those departments and those who've been in charge of those departments over the last 10 years have completely not been able to prove that they've efficiently done that, because that is what they're supposed to do. You realize that over the last 10 years, Kenyans have borrowed over 10 trillion shillings combined. President Uhuru Kenyatta about 6.9, maybe 7 trillion, and this president has borrowed almost 3 trillion shillings. So we borrowed 10 trillion shillings. Almost, that's what I'm saying. So if you do totals, an average of 10 trillion shillings. If you combine between President Uhuru Kenyatta and this president, 10 trillion shillings. And yet today, when you go and ask what the national debt is still at 10 trillion shillings. So it raises a question as to where is that money, because you borrowed...
Then it is 13.
Now 13.
13 trillion.
There was an inheritance of
from
1.8
President
from,
Kibaki.
yes. I mean, every government has passed on a debt to the other ones. We started taking note of these very huge amounts. Yes.
And that's what I'm saying. I was just alluding to what has been borrowed by these two presidents, because then if you top up with what was borrowed from the President Kibaki, then it gets to the total national debt that we have. My point is this, that if we've borrowed 10 trillion shillings over the last years, and we have a principle of public finance management, which says that we only borrow to develop, then it means we must be able to show development worth 10 trillion shillings. Isn't it, Mbuvi? Yeah? That's correct. Why? Because we borrowed 10 trillion shillings, and we have a law that clearly states as to how money that has been borrowed is supposed to do. We must be able to show an equivalent of 10 trillion shillings of investment with a clear register of where the money went to do that. And
Okay.
we must be
response to the code.
we must be clear and be able to show that this is where the 10 trillion shillings has gone, because Kenyans are struggling to see where that money has gone to. And that's why we're saying that alone already allows us to prosecute everybody that has been in that State Department over the last 10 years. That's why when you are alluding to the issue of Uhuru Kenyatta, every time I hear people aligning President Uhuru Kenyatta to our opposition politics, and particularly those of us who believe in the Linda Mwananchi dream, has been that any association with Uhuru Kenyatta will not allow us to be able to implement the things we're telling Kenyans we're going to do.
Okay.
Because President Uhuru Kenyatta has borrowed almost 7 trillion shillings that he has yet to account to what he did with that money.
Okay.
Kenyans have a problem with that. You remember the case of the Eurobond as well. It's a big debate that was never settled, and we had a president who completely dismissed it. I remember you remember that famous video of the Auditor General Ouko being at State House, and he was being blatantly, being told off by the president. It was on live camera. Yet he's the professional and the Kenyan who's been given the mandate.
They also froze his salary
for
almost a year.
For almost a year, just because he was able to ask such questions. And that's why when you ask me about PM Party, and I keep telling you, is that we believe that truly if we are able to deliver the reforms that we want to do as Linda Mwananchi, it's impossible to do it with certain characters that have already been in the system and are they actually the perpetrators of the things we are saying we're going to change.
Okay.
If Uhuru Kenyatta is a purported sponsor of your campaign, how then are you going to tell Kenyans you're going to prosecute and recover the 7 trillion shillings that has been stolen? Because this president said that every day we lose at least 2 billion a day. Remember that statement from President Uhuru Kenyatta?
Yeah.
It averagely says then in 300 days we are losing about 700 billion to theft. If you do just simple mathematics, 350 days by 2 billion. If that is the case, then Kenyans have lost almost 7 trillion in the last 10 years. And those 10 years include both President Uhuru Kenyatta and William Ruto. And so we must be able to, for us to truly be able to achieve that, then we're going to have to deal with the people who are in that State Department, including the President, so that before we even talk about how much money has been stolen, there is what you call abuse of office and not following the law. Because as a person in charge of, what you call the authority to incur expenditure, those officers that have been given that mandate and the procurement team, there's already a stipulation as to how procurement needs to be done. The moment you fail to do that, that alone is enough to take you to court.
Yeah. Hiyo ni ile tunasemanga ni kunoma ni kubaya. Ni kugwan kudanger.
PRM, they have very good plans. But they need to come back to the political reality. They are operating under what we call political off-gridness. They are politically off-grid.
What is the political reality?
The political reality is that in order to realize all those things that they are saying, they must not appear to exclude certain people, that certain stakeholders in the opposition. For example,
Uhuru Kenyatta.
Wait. Uhuru Kenyatta is not running for any political seat.
Yeah, but he has made it very clear that there's no way we can associate with Uhuru Kenyatta because he borrowed so much money.
That's a fact.
And he oversaw a lot of wastage and corruption.
Correct. The people who have contributed to these problems, they will have their day and we will deal with them. You know, there are people in the opposition, Kalonzo Musyoka, Rigathi Gachagua, Matiang'i, they have got their problems. But the biggest problem, I'll call it the existential problem of Kenya today, is William Ruto and his Kenya Kwanza regime. Once we sort out that, we will deal about the rest. We can't dispense off with everyone at the same time, City. Is it possible?
You know, you're asking someone who is not really a politician.
But you have an opinion.
I do have an opinion, and my opinion actually differs from yours significantly. You see, the question I asked George earlier on about what really is the problem, because we are talking about symptoms of the problem we have as a nation. What concerns me is what are the safeguards, and don't say the Constitution, because the Constitution exists now. It existed when Uhuru was there. That's not what I'm asking for. What are the checks and balances that will guarantee that the things we know need to be done are done? In Angola, there was a president called Dos Santos.
Yes, former president.
Yes, immediate former. There's a guy called Lourenço, who's now the president. What happened in that government? Angola is rich in oil, just so that you understand. Yes. And among the things that they had was the daughter of Dos Santos was known to be a very wealthy lady. Okay?
A billionaire.
Yeah. Part of the problem was, you know, the same debts we speak of. The country borrowed, then their oil revenues, etc., etc. It was assumed that because Lourenço was a mentee of Dos Santos, that he would follow the line. This is the man who actually prosecuted Isabella Dos Santos. This is the man who pursued that matter. He said, you know, guys,
yes,
there's this little matter of the country we have, and there are these things we must sort out. Okay? Sometimes, the fact that somebody has worked with another does not mean they can't go against the dictates of that person. Because we are suggesting that just because somebody worked with Raila Odinga, that they agreed with Raila Odinga on everything. Disagreement doesn't mean you need to part ways. It just means on certain issues you have a completely different view, but you're in the same political party. The guarantee boils down to this. Let me give it life. Who are Sifuna's advisors? Who are the people whom Sifuna listens to? Because he can't govern the country alone.
Yes.
Who are the people who will support this vision of his? This Singapore we speak of, Lee Kuan Yew had supporters. He had people who thought like him, people who he came into government with, and that's why they were able to move this thing together. When Kibaki came into power, Kibaki resurrected some retired PSs whom he had worked with, but people he clearly knew, if I have these people with me, I'll be able to push this agenda. It's the same question I'm asking. Because in the absence of that, Sifuna may well be the president of Kenya, and he may probably be the worst president this country has ever had if we don't have these safeguards that guarantees that this man, who clearly has an idea of what he wants to do, actually gets these things done. Because the moment you take that job, the people who will be close to you, the people who, it's a madhouse. In the absence of that support, that president.
But I agree with you, CT. Kenyans have reached a point where they need a radical transformation of our country. Radical to the extent that once the reins of power change, certain heads must roll. And Kenyans want to see action. When Kibaki took over power, there was that renewed energy to even fight corruption. I mean, he had made a declaration that there is zero tolerance on corruption. That was to the extent that even if citizens find a policeman trying to collect a bribe from Matatus, they should arrest him. Citizen arrest.
We saw it.
We saw it happen, but after some time,
it died.
After people within the regime started being part and parcel of corruption, it died off, and that is how we forgot about it. So we have yet another moment like 2002, and we have sat down with Sifuna, and we've told him that he has to remain on that path that Kenyans have put on him. Today, Kenyans chant his name. Kenyans, respect him and they love him because he's speaking to their hearts. He's telling them that when we take over government, we are going to reset this country. By saying that he's going to reset this country back to the basics. If you know you have stolen money that is meant to be public money, that is meant to serve Kenyans, those people have to be prosecuted. At least we must test the extent of the law. For the first time, we must test the extent of the law. There has to be renewed energy to the extent that henceforth, once the new government comes into place, there will be no thing as corruption in that government. And people are not getting into it, and that starts with the head of state. The head of state provides, he provides something like, he
embodies the change.
That everybody is desiring.
Yes.
So if he is going to remain candid and absolute and unequivocal the way he is right now, and embody that aspirations that Kenyans want, they are going to achieve. And that will be achieved because people who think that they will get into the new government with the old mentality that it's our time to eat, that should not happen.
Or there'll be many.
Yes, there will be many. But if he wants to remain candid and he wants to take Kenyans to where they are, and we've told him, he has to ensure that those people with that mentality should not have place in that government. That's the only way we can be able to achieve. Because at the end of the day, CT, we have had constitutions, even the time of Uhuru and even the time of Kibaki. The problem is that people in that regime, and the regime was not serious enough in ensuring that there's strict compliance. So that has always been the problem.
City, let me say something very quickly. All the last three presidents that we've had plans when they were coming in. President Kibaki had good plans that he had for Kenyans at that particular time. Same to President Uhuru Kenyatta and William Ruto. But there's something that Kenyans have not picked up. Kenyans have picked up that we ended up picking up after they became president. They came in with partners whom they did not quite agree on ideologically. You had a President Kibaki, who was largely a reformist. All the 10 years or 8 years that President Honorable Raila Odinga spent in detention, President Kibaki was a sitting vice president, isn't it? Comfortably in office, and not part of it. And so when they formed government, you had a radical socialist person that was coming into government and a conservative person. What followed was a fallout, isn't it? It was the same thing with President Uhuru Kenyatta. He came in with William Ruto, and the ICC cases and the common goal of wanting to survive the ICC case. But when they got what they wanted, they could not realize they did not make it eventually to be able to finish it. And it's exactly what we've had with Rigathi Gachagua. There's a pattern of how that happens, and largely because the compromise that is given just because of winning an election. You understand? There's a fear that we have.
It comes back to bite them.
Exactly, and it's the fear that we have that particularly we've had in Linda Mwananchi, because we are solid members of Linda Mwananchi. Buvi, I want to make it clear here.
Make it.
PM party.
No, I'm encouraging you to say
You understand? Because
Eh.
I think every time we try to express ourselves, people are quickly, they're very quickly to dismiss us. There are issues we are addressing, and that's the reason why we're just out of ODM. We are out of ODM because people don't want to listen to alternative.
Are you out of
opinion.
ODM?
We left ODM for good.
Have you ceased to be a member of ODM?
The day I was going to be cleared to run for member of parliament of Malava, first thing I did was to resign, which was a very hard decision. Was to resign as a member of ODM so that I can become a member of the party I ran on. I ran on a small party called PDU, and largely because we struggled to get the nomination, and they kept on telling us that ODM is in broad-based government, so it's not going to have a competitor in
So
Malava.
you've done an honourable thing. You actually resigned.
I had no choice because it's a legal requirement.
Yes,
that-
I'm calling you honourable because
yes.
I see people who are in UDA. Everything that they do goes against the dictates of the Political Parties Act.
Yes.
And yet they claim that they're in one party, and yet the party on whose ticket they were elected is another, flying in the face of the rule of law. That's why this discussion of the rule of law and how we relate to it becomes pivotal.
Yes.
Because people who are in the political realm seem to disregard it. They seem to think it's a suggestion that you can sidestep when it doesn't suit you. And yet, the whole purpose of the law is not to pander to your likes and dislikes. No. It is the thing that is supposed to bring equitability to the citizenry.
Yeah.
And if the examples which are being set by those whom we elect, and they are telling us by the actions that you can disregard the law, we have a problem.
Yeah, and I was alluding to this movie, I don't want us to miss it. That the challenge those presidents have had is that they went into a political partnership with partners whom they do not share ideologies or at least mannerism or character. So eventually when they get in, there's a fallout. And this is why we have an impeached president in this country, yet it's only a year into their service. It's not even a second.
An impeached deputy president.
Sorry, an impeached deputy president. And that's what we want to try and avoid within the Linda Mwananchi, because what you're saying and what my brother Titus is saying is that let's compromise a little bit because we want to win an election. So we can go get the old guys or the other characters that are, a lot of the other politicians whose currency is only ethnicity, because they'll say, we need Kamba votes, we need Kikuyu votes, we need all this debate, and yet it's something that we're trying to run away from, because when you say we want a fresh start, it means we are taking a risk, a political risk to try and bring in a new phenomenon that might not crystallize in one election. Maybe in this election we might be 20% in, you understand? Maybe then 2032 we can be able to build on it to a level where then we can have what you call a swing vote in what you have in the US, where the US is still tribal. You have the conservatives states that you can predict are going to vote red. You have
It's red and blue.
Red and blue. But there's always the swing states that always turn around the election.
Like Florida.
They turn around the election. The Midwest, those conservative, open-minded states. And that's why you saw President Trump. He knew that America is almost 40% pure conservative. So I already have like 45% of the election. But there are those swing states that we need to convince so that we can be able to turn up. And that's why you saw him going to the Midwest and going to the General Motors factory, places where were industrial states that fall off, and then targeted the middle class that gave him the 10% so that he was able to move into the 50%.
George, you know what is strange about that election?
Yes.
There are states that voted for President Obama.
Yes.
But yet when Trump stood again, they voted for Trump. So
exactly.
That is the conundrum.
I agree.
What is it about the narrative that was being sold to them that appealed to them? On the one hand, they could vote for Obama. Yes.
The currency of ethnicity that our brother Titus and we as in the position they're trying to allude that we should also still tag along with what you're planning is that yes, I agree is a big factor in our Kenyan election. That's what they're saying. No, for us to be able to get Kamba votes, we need to, even if we don't like Kalonzo for the 40 years that he's been in public service, but we need Kamba votes. Let's just do it. We will get to the similar scenario where now we have His Excellency President Edwin Sifuna at State House, and he has to deal with the Rigathi Gachagua as a partner in that election.
No, George. The moment you're talking coalitions, you are introducing differences, and those differences are not necessarily bad.
Yeah.
They are a strong check and balance, because in the absence of that, look at any parliamentary system and you see what happens and how long governments stay in power and how changes are rapid.
That
okay?
compromise is what we are struggling with.
Yes, you will continue
because we know the
with it.
results. If President William Ruto, as tough as he is, could not manage Rigathi Gachagua, I'm just imagining my brother Edwin Sifuna as the head of state, and just to deal with a coalition partner that has brought in 50 MPs and 10 governors.
But how do we know? How do we know that President Ruto could not handle Rigathi?
Yeah.
How do we know?
I mean, I guess that's why he impeached him.
No. You see, there's this narrative that it is Rigathi Gachagua who got President Ruto the votes in Central. It's not true. It's not true at all. I mean, unless you lived in another country and came in after the elections were over, the number of trips and the campaigning that the president did in that region are phenomenal. He sold himself.
That's not the debate.
On that, I differ slightly. You know, in 2022, the reason why Ruto was admirable at that time is because, in my understanding, and this is my opinion, he portrayed himself as a victim of Uhuru, that he had assisted Uhuru to ascend into the reins of power, and now Uhuru had betrayed him by bringing in Raila Odinga, who for a long time had been made as the boogeyman in central Kenya. So the only option and the alternative they had and they fell for was William Ruto. And you see, there is a narrative that Ruto himself got himself the votes in Central. To me, that is going to be debunked. And it has started. You saw in Ol Kalou. After spending close to 1.5 billion in terms of goodies.
Bro.
Taking even, let me finish, City.
Talk
Let me
about
finish.
the figures that have been mentioned. Don't set them as a definitive
Let me
figure.
finish. Let me finish.
Amesema 1.5 billion.
Yes.
Tunaenda na 1.5 billion.
Let me finish. Okay, but we saw speedboats being taken there.
Those speedboats belong to the fisheries, Bwana.
Okay, we saw we saw money being distributed.
Yes,
we saw the entire ministry,
A lot of
CSS, going to Kalau, and I keep on asking them that it was, if all those things were being done under the operations of government, how comes after the by-election we no longer see those things? Let them continue if they are genuine.
Titus.
But the point is this: you saw the performance of UDA in Ol Kalou, very, very. Very, very small, diminutive, and that is an indication that
Central
William Ruto has lost
Titus.
block in Central.
But we're not disagreeing.
Yes.
Look, the victim card is still being played.
Yes.
Gachagua is now
Correct,
the victim.
correct,
He is
correct.
now the victim.
Correct.
Okay?
Yeah.
So, look, Nyandarua County received 6.8 billion as their share from Gava. 6.8.
Yes.
It has 5 constituencies. Okay? If we were to be the Africans that we are and villagers that we are, and we just say, Bwana, if we divide this thing among 5, hii 6.8, inakuja pesa ngapi?
Everyone has close to 1.5.
Ndio hiyo. That's what they get per year. Sindio?
Yeah.
Now you're saying this is the amount of money which was spent in that place in what, how many months?
No.
in a month. Yeah.
In a month.
No, but
and there's,
you see, there was so much bribery that was going on. There was so much bribery. Okay,
people are being bribed $1 million shillings each.
No. You know, there was, and this is something that even traders, you know, the small traders.
What's the population
the
of
small traders?
Of Ol Kalou?
The small traders came out saying that if you went there looking, if there are people who are even doing money exchange business. You know, you go there with 1,000 bob, they break it down, then you surrender 950. You go there with anything less than that, they will not even look at you. So you can imagine the kind of money that was within that environment. So there's so much
if
money.
you spend $1 billion shillings, forget 1.5, Haki, you've changed that economy instantly.
And they did. Just what they did
I'm trying to tell you,
people are living large.
the money.
Yeah, people are living large. People are coming to Nairobi every weekend.
bro.
You know?
Well,
unajua city anataka ukimwambia 1 billion ama 1.5
Yes.
anataka kuona economy ya 1.5 billion.
No,
but I also have I let me tell you, in Kenya we say that we have borrowed how much again? 13 trillion so far. That's our debt.
Yes.
But we don't see economy at
we are
13
questioning
trillion.
it. We are questioning it.
So city,
Yes.
whether they spent 1.5 billion,
Yes.
1 billion or 100 million, we will never know the entire truth and nothing but the truth.
Because
That's
that
what I
money
say.
is not planned. First of all, it's not planned.
What I know for a fact is this: 1.5 trillion shillings were not spent there.
No, I said 1.5 billion,
Okay.
not 1 trillion.
Thank you. Hata ungesema 150 million, I would still be questioning it. Simply because my friend, the amount of money that we are talking about is an enormous amount.
Unajua kuna MP anaweza kwa hata alipatiwa tuseme 50 million. Tuseme tu, yani for the sake of argument.
Akapeana 5.
Akapeana 5 million, akabaki na 45M.
And then also the reason why you can't see the effect of that money is because this money is not planned. It's not planned to go into projects that will change lives of people. It's being spent, in a frolic of people's engagements, in a frolic and in, wantonly without any plan. So that's why you can't see the effect of the money.
Maybe hata kuna mtu alitoka Olkalao akaenda kukunywa kipipiri.
Correct.
So it's yes sir.
That's why they say it's only a full city that does the same thing the same way and expect different results. If you're going to go into this election with the same model that we've been in the last 3 elections, where you have an extremely popular candidate like our brother Edwin Sifuna, whom we fully support, and for us as PM, we've said it repeatedly that our support ends at Sifuna, full stop. We do not want the stories of the other people.
You're not extending that love to anyone else.
We agree that, at the very least, as a president, he has to have a running mate, isn't it?
Yeah.
So
Kalonzo and his running.
And so that one we said we support him for that. We are only saying that the ticket. We are only saying we are alive to the reality of Kenyan politics, and that there's need that you have to have somebody, at least a co-partner that can also bring in a substantive amount of votes. That can't go away. Legally, every presidential candidate has to have a running mate. Again, you can't run away from that. Therefore, Edwin Sifuna has to have a partner. You understand, who goes to the ballot. And it's only strategic that you have a partner that can actually drag in more votes. You understand? But on the issues that we want to go in and actually execute, including the reforms that we're talking about, structural reforms, and us as PM party, what you're considering as the big 5, is that can only happen if our candidate is on the ticket as the lead, so that he has presidential powers. What we learned from the 2002 election, City, the most popularly elected president, 63%. President Kibaki was the most elected, most popularly elected.
President we've had who's got
the highest number of votes is that we had that statement threw me off. We understood that he had to go in and get a candidate that was able to run. So he had to get a candidate that was popular. But once you get in, we learned something, and this is what I just lost, is that Raila Odinga and the group that supported President Kibaki thought that because he was a sickly president and all that there was something like a weak president. What we realize is that there's nothing like a weak president. So the implementation of the reforms that we want to do to be able to deal with corruption, to be able to deal brutally with the issue of tribalism, is that we must have a candidate as the lead on that ticket, so that then there is no barrier to him executing the things that he's saying.
George, how did you and the people who advise you know that Raila and his people thought Kibaki was a weak candidate?
They realized that as days went by. As days went by, they attempted to, you see, these were reformists that had spent many years on the streets, and they thought, remember the story of Kiretu Murungi telling us how they wanted to recover the former vice president's residency at Moi's residency, which was from Cabernet Garden, and he actually gave an account of what happened. But the likes, I think mentioned Orengo, somebody, the reformists that had come into government were clear that this was a state property that needs to be recovered.
Do you know who gave Moi? Do you know who gave Moi? Yes, exactly.
Kibaki himself actually ordered the Ministry of Lands to process a title,
which can be enforced.
Because at that time Moi didn't have a title, but he ordered processing, and I think he's the one who went and delivered it to him.
He
delivered. So that is how the fight against corruption was lost. That is
because Kibaki was a comfortable, was not a reformist.
Yeah, but most importantly,
allow me to differ with you on that statement, George. Kibaki was a reformist. Okay.
He was never a reformist.
But most importantly, on PRM, I have understood your mantra that you want to clean all these legacy and all of them. But that goes contrary to what you people are also doing in action, because whereas you say and you hold that position, when the united opposition goes to Kitale and Trans Nzoia, your party leader, that is Caleb Amisi, is tagging along with them and saying one term. So he needs to be consistent. He should not even be seen with these people.
There's something that we must bring into this conversation.
He was with them.
Even as our time is sort of like ebbing out. There are political decisions that are based on things that are a pertinent reality when one is looking at a presidency.
Yes.
One of them is the stability of a country. When Kibaki was taking over, there were very many moving parts that many of us are not privy to. We get to hear tidbits here and there. The decision was not made lightly. There are people who, it is said, had wanted Moi prosecuted, jailed. And Kibaki said no. And he said, look, my friends, it is said, there's the larger picture of what we need to understand. You may prosecute other people if you wish, but this fellow here, we cannot. Now, you are saying that person is not a reformist. I pray Sifuna becomes president.
Thank you.
You will be amazed at the compromises you will need to make once you're sitting on that chair. Because suddenly, it is not a vision from this seat I have. It's a vision from the tallest building in the land where you can see everything else. And suddenly you realize, yes, these are the things you want to do, but for you to do them, there are these other considerations which you cannot run away from. A simple reality of politics.
Because if we go back to that issue of stability, by the way, it's very critical, and at the end of the day, collaborations when it comes to stability inakuanga ni lazima.
The compromise is that we agree that Sifuna is a lead on that ticket. For as long as he's the lead on that ticket, we are in.
Okay.
It's a very simple one.
Okay, maybe just to conclude on the issue of stability, I differ greatly with these people who always come up with narrative that, for the sake of peace, let us compromise justice. For the sake of the country, let us forgive this thief. My question is always like this. This same person that you want to grant amnesty, when they were committing these atrocities, they didn't know that the country is bigger than them. They didn't realize that, when you mete out injustice on 50,000 Kenyans, 50 million Kenyans, that will not come to haunt you. It's like these people who, brutally murder people. At the time they are committing the murder, they do not understand that the law exists. But when they are caught, they now say, I need to be processed through the law.
Yeah.
The issue is this: we need to confront these things. If you have stolen, if you have caused Kenyans to suffer, you should be processed through the law, and we should not care of what the repercussions are for as long as we are following the law.
And that's
if the country will be thrown into chaos because of following the law, let it go through the process so that we
be
go
born of
through
fire.
it, and in future we will never let us be sharpened through fire and water at the same time.
And that statement alone makes my brother Titus a natural member of PM, because he's beginning to understand what you're saying.
No, I'm not a member of PM. I'm not. PM is a faction. PM is a faction.
It makes him a natural.
It's a little brother of Linda Mwananchi.
Today, if elections were to be if today elections are to be held next week, you'd need a party to contest, isn't it?
Yes.
And the only party that believes in the likes of Titus and Edwin Sifuna and the new generation of leaders today, as it stands, the People's Renaissance Movement.
Okay.
That's where we are at. And
Gentlemen.
just in case they lack a party,
is
we're going to
being registered.
That is a long haul.
Yeah,
There's a long
you
haul.
need to come
All
back.
right. Guys.
PM is our small brother.
Guys,
Yeah.
actually PM tukisema ukweli is your big brother because they registered before you.
And we are an
So
existing
if
party.
today Linda Mwananchi registers as a party,
To be a younger brother.
you will find that these guys were there before you, and that in my definition
Let me
is
just
a
say
big
this,
brother.
gentlemen.
Complete with an NDC.
I wish the two of you luck in implementing these things that you're saying. When we're sitting here, they are lovely to say and they are wonderful to state. And so long as they remain aspirational, it's a good thing. Implementing them, we shall see.
Hapo ndio tunangoja.
We shall see.
Haya, sawa.
Radio generation, the sound is fine. Pump it up, turn it high all the time. Let the music move you, let's sway. Radio G's got your jam all day.
Radio Generation, the home of urban soul. Traffic. This is the Radio Generation News.
Good morning, I'm Winnie Maganga. Police have recovered 249 sheep and goats stolen during a bandit attack at Malka Boje Water Point in Isiolo North. The livestock were recovered on Sunday after multi-agency security team tracked the suspected raiders to Losesia in Samburu East. The National Police Service says officers intercepted the raiders at Daraja ya Mungu and recovered all 249 animals. Police are continuing with efforts to track down and arrest the suspects. Fraud is becoming an increasingly sophisticated form of organized crime, with criminals using technology and artificial intelligence to steal billions of dollars from individuals and businesses. The UN Office on Drugs and Crime says fraud involves deliberately deceiving people or organizations to obtain money or other valuables. UNODC reports that 85% of Interpol red notices issued by member countries in 2022 and 2023 were linked to financial fraud. Public Service Cabinet Secretary Geoffrey Ruku has called on Kiama Council of Elders to distance itself from what he described as former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua hatred narrative against people from Mount Kenya East. Speaking in Kitui County on Sunday, Ruku says the elders should publicly reject Gachagua's remarks if they do not agree with him. He warned that their silence could fuel calls to politically and economically separate Mount Kenya East from Mount Kenya West.
Mimi naomba musije mkasikia yeye. Musije mkasikia yeye. Na mtaonyesha mumusikii kama wazee wa kiama. Wazee wa kiama. Wala ni wazee wa Kikuyu. Kama wataungana pamoja. Wakiwa wote pamoja siku moja. Wakiwa 10,000 waseme dhai. Sisi kama wazee wa Kikuyu hatuungi mkono huyu mkora, hatuungi mkono huyu mtukutu anaitwa Rigathi Gachagua.
Deputy President Kithure Kindiki says he will remain in government and continue supporting President William Ruto's administration. Speaking during a church service in Murang'a County on Sunday, Kindiki said he remains focused on his government duties and supporting the administration's development agenda. He dismissed speculation that he could leave the government, saying he remains committed to it.
Unajua Biblia inasema tangu wakati wa Yohana Mbatizaji mpaka saa hii ufalme wa mbinguni unachukuliwa na wenye nguvu, na wenye nguvu wataingia hapo kwa lazima. Mambo ya ufalme wa mbinguni. Kama ufalme wa mbinguni unachukuliwa kwa nguvu na ufalme wa dunia, si ni nguvu zaidi? Na niliwaambia tukitoka kwa serikali watu wengine watakuja waingia kwa serikali, sisi tukae tumeng'ethia hapo na kulalamika. Na mimi nimesema mimi siwezi toka kwa hii serikali. I cannot.
And that's the truth on Radio Generation. Good morning. I'm Winnie Maganga.
In the beginning, there was morning radio. But now there is Radio Generation's The People's Breakfast. Curious and bold, getting facts from the shadows.
That's what it is.
Now, as the city wakes and secrets stir, a bright new voice shines. The People's Breakfast. Your morning, your voice, your journey. Good morning.
Good morning, my neighbor.
Welcome to the home of hard truths and bold insights. Radio Generation.
Welcome back. Indeed, it is 8 minutes past 9 o'clock. How art thou doeth? Ndwati, I see you. You're saying good morning, movie and city. All to have a fruitful week ahead. Thank you so much, Ndwati. Alafu kuna wengine hapa, acha nijaribu kuona kama nitasoma messages zenyu kwa YouTube. Alright, well, who do I start with? We have... come on. There we are. George Taita, Kenya. Amesema Taita, good morning folks. It's sunny here. Kindly send us some rain. Here, hata huko hakujanyesha. So, kama mko na mahali kuna mvua mtume pande hii. Evans Nyangano anasema 47 county charters, one woman charter, one manifesto, all thought out through via thorough public participation, but UDA threw the documents in the dustbin. So what other plan are they talking about? Well, Evans, there was no one from UDA here in that conversation, but I know what you're asking. You're asking ni nini wanajaribu kutuambia. Are we talking about the Vision 2060? Perhaps, maybe, yes. Kelvin Wanyonyi amesema, Mbuvi, kindly forward my question to the Linda Mwananchi team. How will they handle the issue of debt? Danny Titus did mention what they are planning to do on matters to do with debt. They have said they will audit, and anything that is found amiss will be thrown into the dustbin, literally. And everyone else who was in charge of it shall be thrown under the bus. Wajipange wajitetee huko hivyo kotini. Luis, I'm assuming that's how we pronounce this one. You're saying, I used to think that Ruto was a ruthless tyrant, but seeing Sifuna walking around making noise, I think I overestimated Ruto, or something is cooking. Okay. What does that mean, that you overestimated Ruto? Are you trying to say that Sifuna hii kitu ameipata? Are you trying to say that Sifuna will literally sweep the nation? Not Ruto, but Sifuna. Are you saying that Sifuna will more or less be the next president? Yeah? Aya. And then Evans is back saying 58 state departments and over 30 advisors at State House and over 10,000 bloggers. But there's something I don't understand about this government right now. The number of people working for them as bloggers, the number of people working for them in terms of influencers on matters politics, not influencers on at the government has done this project or the just on matters politics. My goodness,
Paul, I don't understand something. What do bloggers do? You know, you're the one who lives in that universe.
Yeah. Well, my simple understanding of what a blogger does, he or she documents and sells a particular aspect, whether it's a narrative, a reality, a fact, but they write on topical issues.
They write.
For example, yes, they write. They write on social media, whether it's on X, whether it's in kwa magazeti, or whether it is kwa hii kitu ingine nitanga nini, is my other social media spaces. Because some of them actually, they own blogs. Like proper blogs, proper websites, like the way we have radiogeneration.co.ke. Some of these bloggers actually do have their own website where they will blog on certain issues, topical issues touching on either government or opposition or
so
general
essentially
issues.
these are people who have a following.
They have a following for
so
sure.
So what they do is they publish whatever it is they want on the spaces they have.
Yes.
And it is assumed that their followers will then be able to access it.
Their followers do access it, but yes. Yeah. Okay. And some of them, they will write on anything, like or even on this Vision 2060. Right now, if you Google Vision 2060 city, the number of people that are talking about it, it's crazy. Okay. And we're talking about significant voices, big voices, heavy voices in the space, in the realm of political commenting or commentating, in the space of just political analysis. That's the word. So yeah, wako hapo city. Na nilikuwa nakwambia manzi hao watu kwa serikali ni wengi. Haya, tuende tena kwa the executive offices. My friend, the number of people that are being driven in GK vehicles. And if you ask what exactly does this person do? Utambua presidential advisor. Oh, advisor in this department. Oh, advisor for that one. Oh, advisor for this one. It's not bad to have advisors. But just how many advisors can you have, Muga? How many? How many are enough? You know, you can't have everyone advising you. You need, like, for example, me, if I'm to be asked, Mbuvi, who are your advisors? I'll probably say one or two colleagues, then maybe friends that I grew up with, maybe former high school friends or university mates that I can actually call and, you know, just ask on certain issues. Niseme, hey, nataka kuanzisha biashara. What do you think? Ama kuna hii trend nimeona ikifanyika. What do you think? Or I'd like to, you know, buy this parcel of land. What do you think? I'd like to visit I'd like to visit a particular area. What do you think? But I won't go ask everybody that I meet in the streets of Nairobi and I assume all of them are my advisors, because chances are some of them will just repeat what I've already been told by the others, and some of them know nothing about that particular topic. For example, if it's on matters to do with marriage or relationships, there are people I know I can't even ask anything. Why? Because they are a joke in that space, all right? Or they don't even understand what relationships are all about, or their perspective on relationships doesn't align with my perspective. So kuna watu hata sitajisumbua kuuliza. I get. So serikali iko na watu wengi bwana, nashangaga watu wote for why. And then there are others I completely disagree with how they think, because we see what they publish, they write in the papers, they write on their X accounts, and they write on every other social media space you can ever imagine. We see them on TV interviews saying things, and I'm like, how is this person still working after saying those things that he or she has said?
You know, Paul, the questions you raise are pertinent, and they'd even be more pertinent if one can find a plausible response to them. I like to give issues that I consider pertinent a historical perspective. What we see did not sort of like rear its head in this time and age. No, even before the advent of social media.
Yes.
And the expansion of what we call the media space that brought in digitalization and everything that goes with it, governments have always had people whose job is to sell their agenda.
Yeah.
Okay?
Okay.
There are those who are called spokespeople. There are those who are assumed as spokespeople will be spin doctors, meaning you take an issue and you give it a perspective that would perhaps suit or paint the government in a
certain way. Yeah.
Yes, a certain way is a perfect way of putting it. Okay? Social media has made that a lot easier and more plausible. And it made it possible to reach a much, much larger group of people. Now, when you have a government that is dealing with the sort of issues this government came in with. Remember, one of the big demons that we were facing as a country was the likelihood of defaulting on the loans that we had.
Yes.
And that portended, should we say, enormous horrors that people were likely to face should that happen. We were talking about a debt that had been inherited, some of which the payment period would come in around the same time this government was in positions of authority.
Yes.
The details I'm speaking of were not highlighted adequately by these people that you just referred to. What the government of that particular...
By the bloggers now.
Yes, what they inundated us with were a plethora of promises of the many things and the many wonderful things that they did or they were planning to do.
Yes.
When they spoke of debts, they summed it up in one statement: dry coffers. But that doesn't make sense because the government is not a bank. Whatever money it gets, it's meant to spend. So if there's no money today, which is also almost impossible, at some point in time there'll be money because the government collects money every single day. One could argue almost every second. Okay? So if you look at this role, you have to ask yourself, what is it that the government sought to promote? Because in answering that question, you would answer the numbers that you speak of, people who are bloggers, influencers, and the like. Because then their role in propagating, clearly they do want to reach a large number of people.
Yeah.
Now, the people who inhabit that social media space, many of them are predominantly youthful individuals or youthful Kenyans. Okay? So it seems to indicate that they were seeking to influence that group of people. My question is, having given them the information, how was the government going to determine their response to that information? And what was the government planning to do with the response? Because when you put across a certain perspective, people respond to it. And I assume that you put it out there so that you can determine the response.
Yeah.
And once the response has come in, what then do you do with it?
Me, I feel like information is collected for sure. But it is not... Nothing is done about it in a good way or in a positive way. So, for example, Gava knows people are very unhappy. People are unhappy because they don't have jobs. People are unhappy because they feel like the police is against them, the police is brutalizing them, and so on and so forth. But when the government gets that information, instead of, in my opinion again, instead of dealing with that issue of, say, police brutality, people who are vocal in that particular space are either shut up, or the story is spinned in a certain way such that mpaka unaanza kukaa mjinga. Wewe mwenye ulisema kuna shida, unaanza kujiuliza hakuna shida, ama mimi ndio na vitu zangu. You get? And I think that has been one of the biggest problems of this particular regime, that is the Kenya Kwanza or broad-based government. On the issue of housing, for example, people are asking, these houses that you're building in these places, mara Embu, mara sijui wapi huko Ushago, what's the plan? Because that is not what we, the people of Embu, for example, want in our area. You're building those houses, yet sisi tuko na mashamba zetu. Unataka kuniambia nitoke kwa shamba yangu niende kwa estate? Why? Okay, so kuna hizo maswali ambazo zinaulizwa, and I don't think they have been addressed adequately.
So I thought these bloggers were the sort of people through whom such things would be addressed, because if the questions are being asked and these people have been engaged to pass on some information, having heard or having read or having listened to the views of people, should this not be the same avenue through which responses are then delivered?
When there is no credible response, or a response that is making sense, City, if you start right now pointing fingers at maybe a politician or a government person, the next thing we shall see is City anafuatwa na KRA. City hajalipa taxes zake za 2018. And you're wondering, saizi tuko 2026, saizi ndio mmekumbuka sijalipa taxes. KRA has my details.
8 years down the line.
KRA already knows I haven't paid taxes since 2016. But now in 2026 is when now they have caught up with me. Yet they see me every single day on Radio Generation. So why today? Yeah, you point out kidogo, a case comes out of nowhere. Suddenly, City has stolen land. And you're like,
land.
Mara kidogo, City, baby mama shows up. Some woman that you don't even know.
Or several of them.
Or several. A woman that you probably met back in 2008 when you were, I don't know, working where. And you're like, so saizi ndio mumekumbuka, I am a baby daddy. You know? So you wonder, then what are we saying? And of course that happens so that City can stop asking these questions. I feel like how they deal with these issues as ingines. It could be true by the way. You could be having a baby mama somewhere and you are a deadbeat dad. You have never paid school fees for that child. If anything, you even disowned that child and you said, sitaki kumuona. But are we getting away from the fact that City has pointed out to a certain problem? That, for me, is one of the biggest problems of, and not just this government, even previous governments.
The good thing is with the new constitution, we can have this discussion in the way we're having it.
Yeah.
And you can point to this thing. When there was a single party state, Chief, you didn't dare
say it.
Well, you know all these things you say,
they'd
be pointed in your direction. Let's say, for instance, you took a loan and you're supposed to pay it in 5 years. And in your second year, they can demand that loan immediately.
Sindio? And you're auctioned.
Utakuwa na shida.
Na utaauctioniwa ukiangalia tu hivi.
The thinking that we see operationalized in the deeds that we are mentioning, these are the hallmarks of impunity. Where people totally disregard what the rule of law has to say on that subject matter. And what trumps the rule of law is how somebody feels they should go about handling certain issues. So they will engage in very many extrajudicial activities. Okay? Now, the killings is what comes to the fore because then people are dead. But the activities that go contrary to the law, they're really numerous. Okay? You see, if we seriously and honestly want to have an honest conversation about corruption, forget the government, forget the president, forget the CSs. Those make for interesting conversations as to where we can blame people. But it doesn't absolve us from our contribution. Our contribution is not to that larger thing. It's in the sphere that you are in. You accept to bribe. You accept to take shortcuts. You accept to drive when you know full well the lights are red, but there's no car, so you decide to drive. And since no one stops you, you think it is okay. The culture where you think that the law only works when it doesn't seem to favor you or you need to say something against it, and when you find that it is you who has gone against it, somehow the law is now being partial. Why am I being picked on? You broke the law, that's why you're being picked on. Okay? We haven't as a people and as a nation embraced the rule of law. We've embraced it in our conversations. But embracing it as something that should feature in our lives on a daily basis,
Bado.
No, we're far from it. It's other people who should embrace it, and it's other people whom we shall point fingers at, and it's other people who break all manner of... It's always other people. It's never us. There are very many Kenyans who are law-abiding, sincerely so. and they will not do anything wrong. These people represent the majority of citizens. But where we go absolutely wrong is we turn a blind eye.
You know, nowadays I've become a mini CT or a younger version of CT Muga, because just a few days ago nilikuanga kwa garage na I overheard some mechanics talking about the election.
The coming election?
Yes. The coming election, of course.
Yes.
And they were saying, hey, hii kitu bana saizi, lakini msana anaweza toka kweli. Of course, whom says President Ruto. Lakini msana anaweza toka kweli. And I listened to the argument because I wanted to understand their perspective. And these guys were so convinced. And they said this narrative we've been hearing, being said by opposition, not opposition, but government, folks, that President Moi did his 10 years. Kibaki did his 10 years. Uhuru 10 years. Surely. Kwani huyu ndio atakuwa wa kwanza kufanya 5 years?
There's nothing anchored in the law that says that is the rule.
Exactly. But you see, their argument, and I listened, they were like, Africa hakuna mahali imeifanyika. Then at one point nilimwambia, Google a guy called John Mahama.
Anatoka nchi nyingine inaitwa Ghana.
Unajua jamaa anaitwa, because I was just on my phone, alafu nikamuuliza, bro, unajua jamaa anaitwa John Mahama? Akaniambia para, nikamwambia Google hiyo jina. Then alafu muendelee hiyo conversation mlikuwa mnasema about the whole of Africa. And of course there are other examples. Even in Liberia, I think their president did one term, and other countries that are not coming to my mind right now. But the point here is Kenyans do not know the kind of things that you and I know, City. And unfortunately, it is the vast majority. It is the vast majority. And that is where our politics needs to change. Our politics doesn't need to change with the people that we elect. It doesn't matter whether, who your MCA is, your woman rep,
spot on,
or your president, or your, what are they called, governor is.
You're spot on.
Our politics need, lakini shida ya City ni hao watu, manzi, they have a long way to go.
We have a long way to go because, you see, Paul, the people we are determines the people we elect. Not the other way around. No.
Because if we, kwa ground, tuna change, imagine we'll never have a violent election.
No, it won't happen. But
we won't take bribes.
Do you know? I don't know what it is. Election day is one of the most peaceful days in this country.
Yeah.
The conversations I have had when I am queuing. I used to be one of these fellows, 2 o'clock, mazemi nisha pangala, nataka nimalizane na hii kitu.
Yeah.
Before I realized I was queuing for hours on end. The conversation was good, but if I go at 2:33, there's nobody. In fact, you'll find there are 2 people ahead of you, so you're essentially in 20 minutes you're through. Paul, the problem is never how we vote. We vote peacefully.
Yeah.
Because when we're discussing these matters, we are clearly in different parties, and we even talk about the differences. And it is harmonious, and we are joking about it, and we're talking about it, and we vote. The problem with MC elections are never a problem. MPs, never a problem. Women rep, not a problem unless it's at the local level. Senator, not a problem. Governor, not a problem. Come to the presidential election. Happened Yoshida, because there's this little matter of the arithmetic that certainly doesn't seem to math.
Yeah.
It matched right in 2002. There it matched nicely. Consequent years up to 2022, it didn't math.
Yeah.
Now, how do you cure this thing? Olkalao may have given us a great hint.
Yes.
How to protect your vote. Yes.
No, yeah.
So what mars it though is when this aspect of Kenyan politics, where people start taking positions, violent positions about those who oppose what they believe in. If you come to this region, you cannot say this, you cannot say 2 term, or you can't say 1 term, because that is now you are speaking violently. So essentially, you've introduced violence into a conversation with academic. If you are not for this particular party, we'll look for you even under your bed. They're wondering, guys, the people spoke. They voted. It's them. They spoke. You didn't need to go and look for people under their beds. Those who didn't agree voted. That's where the 5,000, the 51 votes, all that's where it came from. So now suddenly these people who actually come from this place, are native of that place, suddenly you are your enemies. How are they your enemies? The MP of that region who even died was not even in your party. He was in Jubilee. I find it strange. I find it strange that instead of nipping such things in the bud and saying, folks, stop poisoning the conversation with this narrative.
Yeah.
People are allowed to vote for whoever they want. Let them vote. If this person can't convince anybody, so be it. How many times have we had people standing and when you count the votes, you realize that even his own family members didn't vote for him?
Nakumbuka Jeremiah Kioni in, was it 2017 election? When he was a running mate. That thing was bad, man. Watu walikuwa nasema hata familia yake kumpigia kura.
You see, that's the narrative, okay?
Jesus Christ.
But the thing about politics, but did that stop him from remaining a politician? No, it did not stop him.
It didn't.
Okay?
Yeah.
You see, if we understand that people lose elections, people win, and people lose and sometimes go back and win again, then that's why we've chosen this system.
You know, City, when I look at our politics, I look at how, even growing up, we used to do things. Nakumbuka kuna wakati people were told to line up and to receive bread. I think it was in the university. I was at KU at the time. So
bread.
Yeah.
Mkate.
Watu walikuwa na line up kupatiwa soda na mkate. It was a function. There was someone who had come and it was some big shot, either a minister, maybe it was Saitoti, I can't remember. But it was like a big shot in government. And after the visitation, students were asked, we were given mkate na soda na tukaletewa like a huge truckload of this soda and bread. So after the speech, after now the vote of thanks, we were told, students, don't leave. There's what? Kuna soda.
Kuna soda na kuna buffalo.
Na mutapatiwa hapa. Bro, no sooner than the lecturer that told us, guys, go for this thing. No sooner than he said, Iko, we even stopped listening to what he was saying.
You headed in that direction.
We were not even waiting for the guest to leave. Guys rushed literally to the direction where, because now it was pointed out, pale ndio mtapatiwa mkate na so. Yani it was bad, City. And we also, well, I wasn't part of the scramble because at the time I was at Kenyatta University traveling theater na sisi tulikuwa tunaenda kwa high table. So whenever there's food and dancing and nini, us would go to the high table. But I remember, comrades, man, iyo mkate ilipiganiwa na soda. Yet it was more than enough. When I say more than enough, it was enough for everyone to have 3 of each. 3 sodas, 3 loaves of bread. Like a whole buffalo. Uende nayo.
What does that tell you?
Kuna kakalcha tunakwanga nako City kabaya sana. Because we have taken that, because if that is what happened when I was in campus, we are the same guys. We haven't changed. It's not like we went now to Uganda and then we came back to Kenya. We are the same guys who graduated and we have gotten into this space called politics. Because someone like Nyoro was in my year of whatever, my cohort. Yes. Kuria was like a year or 2 behind me. Huyu jamaa wa Molo. Mushangi anatoka huko mahali Embu was in my year. So we are the same guys that have moved from Kagushia. I told you he was a few years ahead of me. We are the same guys, City. Nothing has changed. Absolutely nothing. And we have taken that upuzi, hooliganism
into leadership.
Because there is enough, but we are fighting over it. And in the process of fighting, tulivunja masoda nyingi sana, mikate zingine ziliraruka
zikanyagwa. By the way, that didn't start with you. We didn't have to pay for food. It was part of the loan process. The boom, part of the loan process. Room you didn't pay. All you did was you went to the dining hall and ate. I used to be...
And eat to your fill.
Ile unataka, bro.
Okay.
I still remember, this very huge loaves of sliced bread. So you had 1,500 grams, those ones. You'd find somebody has taken a whole one and you ask him, bro,
itaenda kuwaste.
Are you going to finish this thing?
Hii itapata mold.
No, they're not even leaving with it. No, amebeba mweka kwa meza. Now, the thing that used to petrify me and pain me Somebody comes to a table, when somebody after drinking tea and they're full, poured tea on the table, and you're thinking, ndugu, shida, yani umeshiba mpaka ujinga umeingia.
Wastage.
Somebody takes the bread and mops the tea with the bread.
After all.
You know, I got to a point, I would look at the tables, because I always have my breakfast later, and never that early. What I would decide, I would not bother taking the bread, because there's bread on the table. I would also not bother with jam and we had jam or marmalade, because it was on the table. I would get tea. You see, us, we used to get eggs and sausages, so ili tu ujue.
Yeah.
Okay? So you take those, na unakuja unakaa, mkati kwa hapo. You can't even finish half that loaf. It doesn't matter how big an eater you are. It's a lot of food.
Yeah.
How does somebody explain that wastage? There's a mindset that the university gave people. That it was one university that you are extra special. So umefika university.
Yeah.
And there's this feeling that wewe si kama watu wa kawaida. In many ways you are not, because to qualify for university, you really need to be very, very good at what you did. But the world of a university is an elitist educational system. You must go through certain things before you get there. And not everybody wants to go that route. Now, if you think of that mindset of wastage, no regard for the person who is coming after you, you will be amazed at how it manifests. And you ask yourself, where this person came from?
Yeah.
Is that how people behave? The answer would be no. Wherever he came from, we Kenyans tend to have similar backgrounds in many ways.
Yes.
People who are considerate of their neighbors and who are taught not to be wasteful. As children, we were taught not to be wasteful.
Even right now, there's no one who makes ugali in their house, eats half of it, and then throws the other half.
It doesn't happen.
You won't buy a kilo of meat, eat 3/4, and then throw a quarter.
It doesn't happen.
It's a lie.
Yes.
Look at how we even treat our relatives when it comes to matters to do with inheritance. Yani unaua tu brother yako juu ya shamba. Yet whatever piece of land you have, hata kama ni kadogo, hata kama kanatosha na studio. What is the problem with dividing and
wewe unataka yote?
Si uchukue tu nafasi yako ile na kutosha na uachie ndugu yako hiyo ingine.
Well, it becomes even more pertinent, and I'm glad you started with that small piece of land which isn't even an acre.
Yeah.
Because that's where it starts. So what is this mindset? Okay, people call it greed.
Yeah.
But when you come to families where there's plenty, and the patriarch leaves plenty, the wars are even more vicious. People die in the process.
They do die.
Again. But it isn't because there's a lot of money. It is because there's somebody there who wants more.
Look at the case of Dr. Mutiso. If indeed it is true what the DCI is investigating, munawana juu ya mashamba. Na ni nyingi, ni kubwa. There is no wewe at the end of the day when you die utaekwa kwa 6x6.
Kusha.
We have transferred that nonsense to politics, to governance, because we get in there and we're like, aha, now I'm in the ministry.
No, si mimi ndio
yes. City nampatia sijui job gani, sijui nachukua nani naeka wapi. I take all my family members, give them these positions, and then
so that nobody notices. It's not in my ministry. Naongea na watu wengine nio.
Ile ministry ingine.
Not mine.
Nipatie wako 10, nikupatie yangu 10.
Tafadhali. Yes. And you do it in several ministries. If someone looks at your ministry, the people you're working with,
balanced.
They're actually not your relatives. But your relatives have been considered elsewhere.
And you have considered other people's relatives.
But where it is pronounced perhaps in the most bizarre way is in the county government. You will find, depending on the clan somebody comes from, honestly, there'll be a disproportionate number of people who are employed who come from that person's clan. Then his wife's clan. Then wananchi wengine are considered. When it comes to business, they've understood. You give some cronies, but what they do, you talk to Governor X, they have their person who does business. So they give you their person. So it is a different person doing, and you give them your person. Meaning, this becomes one big bundle of individuals who are determined that the very thing for which they were elected, they will not do. They will pay lip service to it. But the whole plan is to try and determine how much you can get away with. Now, why we live in a good time is because we actually have the laws, and the laws provide us with a shade of lens through which we can see and say, this is what you're doing, and we can speak and say, this is wrong. there is a pushback, but it exists. Now, if we garner sufficient courage and verve to ensure that we can stand against this and not just speak very politely, at our own level say, this I will not do. Not at somebody else's level. You see, you then become extremely powerful. Meaning, somebody realizes you can't influence this person the way you think.
Yeah.
People will not take the 200, the 300 if they genuinely have something they are doing which promises them more tomorrow. They won't even bother coming to your rally. They'll weigh the difference and no. My friend, these cows of mine, I need to make sure that they get vaccinated this week. That rally is not going to add the number of cows to me.
There's a guy who came here, can't remember the name of this guest, but alisema alisomea Oxford University. Was it Oxford? But it was somewhere in the UK.
Yes.
Either Oxford or Cambridge or something. But alisomea UK, and he was saying that the entire time of his undergraduate studies that he was there, for the 4 years he did whatever, he never saw the member of parliament for that area of education.
Or the equivalent of IMCA.
Alisema bwana, those guys, you don't see them. Why? Because things are working. And then you have local council that deals with vitu ndogo ndogo.
But they're accessible.
Very accessible. And he was like, for the entire time I was there, I heard of the name. I probably saw him once in a while on TV when, there were these national events, but like see the guy on the ground sijui campaigning and sijui kuja saying ati akina mama this, akina mama that, or sijui plasting his name all over town, or this has been provided by your MP. Alikuwa anasema bwana, you don't see that nonsense there because things work.
You see that culture where even those who are elected know they have to have fidelity to the law. They know very well ya kwamba, and that's why you find them resigning. Something is mentioned about you that suggests that you did something a bit untoward. You say, guys, so that there's clarity, let me remove myself.
And if you are found guilty, it's so embarrassing.
Yes, it is.
Huku hakuna embarrassment for why?
Ati nini?
Ati mie be embarrassed.
Wewe utaacha kucheza na mimi.
Ati niko embarrassed over?
See, that's where the questions come in, where somebody is accused of having taken money that didn't belong to them. Essentially, they're being accused of theft. And they bring in the question of my mother.
Yes.
We ask kwani pesa ni mama yako, and I'm thinking, hey.
Yeah. Someone says that I will not resign or I will not step down
until
so and so does the same.
Another one said over my dead body. That person is still alive, up to date. But they left
they left the position.
Yeah, they did, and they didn't die.
I just don't get it. But I like what Luis Rudasingo is saying here. Anasema, thanks for the conversation. Until the issue of mindset is addressed, change is unlikely. We need to change. Ni sisi. These folks that we elect or that we think we want to elect.
Paul, have you ever been to Rwanda?
I've never been to Rwanda.
You need to go to Rwanda. There is something that we don't have in the street of Nairobi. The streets of Kigali have it. You can walk in that place at night at any time and you don't need to worry. Literally.
There are places in the CBD. You walk. You see someone else coming. You start panicking. You even cross the road because you're not sure what they will do to you.
This city of ours, there was a time, even in this, forget once you go beyond Kenyatta Avenue, Luthuli and what have you, you didn't dare because, first of all, there were no street lights. And these children we refer to as street children would mug you and harm you. Okay? You know, there was a town clerk. This man later died.
Okay.
That man straightened this city without making noise, without shouting about what he was going to do. Street lights came back. Those street urchins disappeared. They were taken to homes, and meaning the city became safe again. Then there was a scandal about land at a mortuary. This special...
Mortuary or cemetery?
Cemetery.
Okay.
Sorry, cemetery. This special CES, his name was mentioned because he had been the Minister of Local Government at some point. This man ended up in jail. He died. I mourn the person to date because this is clearly a person who understood what his job was, and he understood what needed to be done. And he did it. There was no ceremony. There was no fuss. In fact, I saw his picture twice in the papers. The guy was just getting the job done. The moment somebody is in a position of authority, and matter they're wearing an apron to show us that they're slicing tomatoes in some feeding program, or they have worn some gum boots and they're walking next to a river, showing that they're involved in, guaranteed nothing's happening there. That's showbiz.
Yeah.
Okay? But we support the showbiz. We support the showbiz because the consequences of these things have never actually sunk in this country because there are none. Selective 1 or 2 people get arrested, some even go to jail. But if you look at the enormity of what it is that we consider wrong, a lot more people ought to be brought to book, not jailed, not to book. Let there be evidence to support the wrong they have done. And the requisite action that the courts have the power to do should then be followed. But we don't see enough of it.
We don't.
So people are encouraged to continue with the things that they're doing. Have you seen how these motorbike riders behave in our streets?
Motorbikes.
This piki.
Nduthi.
Street lights.
Are a suggestion.
Are absolute and complete.
Yes.
And not just a nearby suggestion, a remote one. I get the impression some of these people never went to be trained on the regulations of the road. They drive on any side of the road, and that's why they end up hitting people's side mirrors, and they will take off.
My side mirror was hit so many times I even stopped
bothering about it.
I would replace that camera. That mirror is cracked. I don't even bother because the number of times it has been hit on both sides. By the way, inagongangwa mpaka you're like sasa huyu.
And then they take off. If somebody apologized, you'd even feel okay. No. And if you stop them, first of all, their first response, arrogance. It's like they're asking you, so why did your side mirrors
why was it there?
Why was it stopping me? You think,
There's a time the guy hit me from the back and akavunja inaitwaje kitu inakwanga huko nyuma.
Backlight.
The backlight. So I came out and I asked him, bro, rada. So now you need to replace this. He just told me that sina pesa. He was being very honest, and
but he stopped.
I mean, because we were in a traffic jam. He really couldn't get away. So I asked him, Sasa, okay, umegonga taa. I need to replace it. Mimi nimegongesha. Si wewe ndio umekuja tu kumali umetoka ukagonga. Sasa si twende tutengeneze tununue ingine, hata we can just go, there's a garage down the road. He was like, sina pesa. So I asked him, so now I sought myself out. And then he just went silent.
Yes, he did.
And then 65,000 others showed up.
Oh, that's the norm, isn't it?
Yeah. And one of them akaniuliza, sasa bro, sasa tutafanya aje juu sasa huyu jamaa amesema hana do. And I got the message. They were like, forget it, man. And I forgot it.
I got hit. Well, I wasn't hit. The vehicle was hit, unfortunately for the motorbike rider.
Yes.
He was on the wrong side of the road to begin with. And I was turning into some place. And he was speeding on that side. He didn't hit the car. He hit the tire. The car was slightly elevated.
Yes.
And he spun off. He had a passenger.
Yes.
I braked. Put on emergency, the
hazards, yes.
Switched off the car, got out. Same position. Again, the 175, but 15 people arrived. Then they became 25.
Yes.
And one of them told me, "Oh, you umegonga." I started laughing. I said,
umegonga.
I said, what do we do? Kuna haja kubishana? Waze? Wacha nipige polisi simu, wakuje. 10 disappeared. Okay? So now we're around 15.
Yes.
Then as the situation unfolded, there's somebody in the crowd who just removed his credential and said, mini police service, these are my IDs, akaweka hivyo watu waone. Another 10 disappeared.
They realized that.
Said, I saw the whole thing. Ndio mwenye makosa. I had walked. When I got out, I walked towards where the motorcycle was.
Yes.
I told him, can you lift it up? He lifted it up nicely. The tire was bent.
Yeah.
He needed how to straighten it. He didn't. So I straightened it for him. If you've ridden bicycles,
you know how to a dent.
Yeah, you put it
bend, sorry.
Yes, it's straightened. The young lady was in shock, whom he was carrying, but she was not injured. There was no mark. I said, this young lady needs to be taken to hospital to be checked. Now, my situation was a calm one, and I wasn't kicking a fuss. There was no damage to my car at all. There was no damage to his motorbike either.
Yeah, apart from that bend.
Yeah, which was straightened. Even his side mirror, nothing had happened. It was just bent. You straighten it. But still, one of them was saying, no, let's pay. You know, I didn't need to respond. This police man responded on my behalf, and he told him, kama una kazi toka hapa. I think he understood it.
Yeah.
2 more people left. So now I was left with 3 people. I gave the lady my number, and I told him this is my number.
Yes.
The police said, no, wachana na hiyo kwanza.
Yeah.
Wapi driving license yake. He didn't have a driving license. ID. He didn't have an ID.
Insurance.
He had a photocopy. Which insurance? So, his problems clearly became many. 2 left. So now it was just...
you and the person and the guy.
Yes. You know, it puzzles me because I've not actually understood it. Every time something takes me to a police station,
yes,
I'm amazed to find that there's a yard where there are very many motorbikes.
Very many. Those are impounded.
Yes.
Very
many.
Yeah.
Yes. But I've never understood where this go to hell attitude that these people have came from. I've never understood it. Because as a group of people, they are rude.
Yeah.
They disregard the law. And they believe they can take the law in their own hands. I've often wondered, what enables them to get to that stage where they think they can do this?
Unity in numbers.
Yes, because it's the same thing these people were elected to do. It's just
they gang up.
Yes, just that they don't ride motorbikes.
Yes.
But that's what they do. If you look at the laws that are made and the way they go about the business of representing us, to hell with us is mostly the attitude. I mean, we're going to do these things, and if you guys don't like it...
It's because out of all those legislators that we have there, very many of them do not necessarily do good. Now, wanajua the moment one of them has been caught, if it can happen to CT, it will happen to Mbuvi, for sure. So they nip it in the bud.
And yet, you know, Paul, if we were to be honest, if I were to be honest,
yes,
really, the vast majority of those legislators are actually well-meaning citizens, and they want good. But why don't they prevail? Why? Yeah. Why is it that every time we talk about something that has gone wrong, and yet there are numbers, and a sizable number of people who are willing to do the right thing, who are willing to do what is good, and yet they don't do it. To him who knows it is sin, it is right and does not do it, or then to him the Bible says it is sin. If you know this is the right thing to do and you don't do it, tayari hiyo ni makosa.
Yeah. Hivyo ndivyo wanakuanga sitting. Unfortunately. Kuna comment nilikuwa nimeona hapa hivi kanifurahisha kidogo. This is Eunice Wanjiru amesema, my passport was lost by Atlanta Passport Department. I called my area MP's office and they made an appointment date for expedite my passport because I was traveling in a day. Yes, systems work in the USA. Okay. By area MP, do you mean like a local representative? Well, maybe. But yeah, I like how things, because you know when we sat here with Hulda is a rep in Minnesota, and she was telling us that Uko, by day, my friend, you're working for the people, and I think she said there's no salary for that. Huh?
No, remember Hulda, the representative job she has.
Yes,
it's quasi-voluntary.
She was saying that there's no salary for that.
No, it's quasi. By the way, we did have such a system before in the county councils that we had. Very many of the people in the county council are volunteers.
Yeah.
Some were elected, but by and large they were volunteers, meaning the people who just gave their time to go and, represent the public.
Yes.
So you would find at that particular point in time, the county councils actually functioned well. The cultures that emanate in what we now see as the norm
yes,
start somewhere. And anything that starts can be brought to a halt. But unfortunately for human beings, it's like we need to see the ramifications of these things that we tolerate, and we need to see the enormous harm that they do for us to realize that actually we need to look at this thing differently.
What if CT, and this is just a wild thought that just came to me, I hope it doesn't sound stupid, but I'll say it anyway.
Yes.
What if we actually get back to volunteership for all these positions, whereby in your area, anybody can be MP or anybody can go to parliament and make laws? What do I mean? We have a set number of people who've been vetted, yes, and they are able to do that representation, such that at any one time, we have about maybe from each constituency, let's say we have like 10 people from each constituency. And these are volunteers. You have been vetted and you're in the list of volunteers to be member of parliament in this particular area. And you're allowed, each one of you is allowed to go to parliament, I don't know, for a set number of times. So that means that if I was in parliament last week, I cannot go again until all the other 9 have been to parliament. Yes? So everyone goes, and it's volunteer work. So nenda hapo hivyo, you make your contribution in terms of the debate or whatever that is happening in the house. Unapiga kura yako, then unatoka unaachia the next volunteer who's
After
available.
how long?
Ndio nasema we can work out that modality.
I see. You're
Yes.
talking about a rotational system.
Yes, whereby, and you're not being paid to be there. It's like jury duty in the US, whereby you're called upon by the courts, you go and become a member of a jury, and once that case has been concluded, your work is done until the next time they consider you. So you find that when you're called upon as Paul Mongala Mbuvi, you have got to show up in parliament, do your legislative work, and get out. Ndio hii mambo ingine, we just focus on that representation, we focus on the oversight, and we focus on hiyo ingine inakuanga nini, legislation. Mesema legislation, oversight, hiyo ingine ya tatu inakuanga nini function.
In this current parliament, they even have budget making.
Yeah, so the point is we focus on those core 3 things that, you know, as a member of parliament you're supposed to do. You already, as a member of your constituency, you already know what is needed or what is not. So when you're called upon on that rotational system, you show up, and it's a legal requirement. Like in the States, ukiitwa jury duty wezi kataa. Ukikataa, you have got to...
hiyo unaweza kupata scholarship.
Lazima uende explain kwa nini ungeweza kukuja kwa hiyo kitu. So, same thing. You're called upon, and when you're called upon, you show up to the legislator, you do your work, so that by the time you're saying no to the finance bill, for example, it's not personal. It's because you are looking at the people that you represent, and they know Mbuvi is the one who was there on that particular day. So tumemwambia sisi kama watu kama ni Kitui Central, tumemwambia Mbuvi kama watu wa Kitui Central, this is what we know or want or don't want.
What is strange, you look at Switzerland, their canton system and their rotational presidency.
Yes.
If you knew how those people used to fight among themselves before they realized, you know, this thing,
it's not do or die.
And we're not helping ourselves.
Yeah.
It's really that simple. Or these Scandinavian countries, we don't have to go that route. People don't need to die to the point where we're afraid we might be extinct for us to realize that actually this thing is not very useful. Let's find a way around it. But you will find that those countries have an extremely high level of public participation. Oh, yes.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't pass a threshold, that thing doesn't move.
Yeah.
It means not enough people have participated. And they know. Haki, you want to name a road.
Yeah.
It's not the council or the county government that decides.
It's the people.
This road is C.T. Muga Road. No, you suggest. They debate. People live there. If they don't like it, done. You
forget.
Yes.
Yeah.
You want to build a road, or you have to state what you want to do. State. Once you've stated what you want to do, again, participation. You'll find the walkways are not included in this plan of yours. You have a plan, they've seen it. We need these walkways and we need to... They will tell you what they want. If you do not seem to abide by it, that project will be stopped. Meaning, you realize, why didn't I just abide by what we have agreed on? It makes life easier. Or why don't I have a plan that even when they discuss, there will be very little opposition to it because it meets all the requirements. But again, you talk about a population that has a wonderful relationship with their laws and they embrace it as their own.
Yeah.
Not like us, who the law is an alien creature whom we must fight. At every turn, we must fight and we must win. So impunity reigns because we are winning the fight against these laws that are restrictive and limiting.
Ronnie Ngala, I see you. Lando anasema, good morning guys. Behavioral and attitude change is paramount. Should we hope to see an organized population in future? Let's all start instilling this in our little ones. I think something similar happens in China, whereby at that very young age, bwana mnafunza hiyo nationalism yenu kutoka yako ka age.
The patriotism is taught. And everything you do and your relationship with the state is taught.
So you grow up, yani by the time you're this age, you're an adult of sound mind and you can make decisions.
You break the law, you'll be reported by your own child probably.
Yani huko munafunzo of values flani.
Yes.
The things, even when you look at the Chinese culture, Japanese culture.
You know, the West calls that controlling. And yet the system they have
is worse.
Infinitely, because it's look, if you take into account just the wonderful things that America has represented over time, the standards that they've set, the things that they have invented, there is so much and there are so many beautiful things. However, what do you call a situation where literally everything that runs in that country is on debt? You are allowed to borrow. Credit is given to you like this. So you'll have a car on debt, you'll have a house on debt, you'll have
everything, even the clothes you're wearing on debt.
It is, and you're allowed to have it. Okay? You go to Japan, close to 60% of what people earn is saved. So when you hear that the ratio of what you call the debt to GDP ratio in that country is over 200%. It's in yen. And they probably borrow it from themselves. There's a point at which they used to borrow from the World Bank in the 50s and so forth. But so it's a completely different setup. So they don't end up with the sort of problems we have.
They don't.
But in the West, that bubble tends to burst from time to time. And that's why you have recessions that are phenomenal in nature, and they're spoken of for a very, very long time.
That's why we'll come to a close as far as today's conversation is concerned. Atticus, nimekuona na utajua. These guys have been fighting on our timeline here. I hope you will resolve whatever it is that is going on between you two.
They have different views on certain subjects.
Acha tu. Ile vita iko hapa, acha tu, hata hii ukiingilia city utachomeka. But folks, let's meet tomorrow bright and early at exactly 6 a.m. But right now though, we leave in the safe hands of Winnie Maganga with the news.
Radio generation, the sound is fine. Pump it up, turn it high all the time. Let the music move you, let's sway. Radio G's got your jam all day.
Radio Generation, the home of urban soul. This is the Radio Generation News.
Good morning, I'm Winnie Maganga. Police have seized cannabis worth about 1.19 million shillings in separate operations in Meru and Kilifi counties. In Meru, detectives acting on intelligence intercepted a motorcycle suspected of transporting drugs in the Mariri area. The rider and passenger escaped on foot after abandoning 2 sacks containing 36 bales of cannabis weighing nearly 25 kilograms. In Kilifi, police at Sabaki Bridge intercepted a bus traveling to Lamu and recovered 2 packages of cannabis hidden under passenger seat. Advocate Titus Mahanu and communications strategist George Ngaira says Kenya's political debate should focus more on governance reforms and reducing wastage on public funds. Speaking on Radio Generation today, the two said political parties should identify the issues that matter most to Kenyans rather than offering similar solutions. They also raised concerns over the growing number of government ministries and state departments, saying this could increase unnecessary public spending.
And when you cut out the common mwananchi from credit facilities, there is no money in their pockets.
Okay.
We have to ensure that the constitution is adhered to. We have spoken to Kenyans and they're telling us that they prefer a government that does not build them houses but respects the constitution. Their children are not abducted. Their children are not killed. People are not forcefully disappeared. So we are speaking to Kenyans. And most importantly, Kenyans have also told us that this fake debt needs to be audited. And it's one of the 10-point agenda that William Ruto and the Kenya Kwanza administration agreed with Baba before he died.
Okay.
The problem is that he never wants to go back there. And remember, he told us just before he was elected, and he used it as a mantra, that when you find yourself in a hole, you stop digging. He was referring to the debt, that now that we have got this huge debt which we can't understand where it came from, we have to stop borrowing. You remember him telling us he does not understand why fuel passes through Kenya to Uganda, but fuel is more cheaper in Uganda than in Kenya. What happened to those things?
Former presidential advisor Moses Kuria says President William Ruto could be re-elected even without getting a single vote for the Mount Kenya region. Speaking on Citizen TV, Kuria says even securing 13% of the vote in the region will be a major win for Ruto, describing it as a bonus for the president. He says his projections show Ruto can win the 2027 general election without relying on votes from Mount Kenya, insisting that figures don't lie.
We got 13% of the vote. If the president gets 13% of Mount Kenya, it's a very big win for him. It's a very big win. It's a bonus. It's more than he needs. It's more than he needs. Yeah? If next year the president in Mount Kenya region gets 13% of the vote, it's a bonus. It's the excess of what he needs. I was with you here before, and I told you, and I repeat here again, and I'm going to speak that when we come to the next point about the politics of 2027, that the president, in my projection, and I'm not hard in this, is going to be re-elected without a single vote from Mount Kenya region.
A state of emergency has been declared in Western Canada after fast-moving wildfire forced thousands of people to flee their homes. The Bald Range fire in British Columbia has more than doubled in size since it was first reported on Friday. Police say one person has died in the fire, which is now covering about 136 square kilometers. And that's the truth on Radio Generation. Good morning, I'm Winnie Maganga.
Sports on Radio Generation.
Good morning, I'm Samuel Otieno. Lionel Messi missed Inter Miami's League Cup match against Monterrey following the death of his father, Jorge Messi. Jorge Messi died in Argentina on Saturday at the age of 68 after a long illness. He had also served as Lionel Messi's agent from the time the football star was 14. Messi traveled back to Argentina with his wife and 3 children following the news. Kenya finished second at the 2026 World Under-20 Athletics Championships with 6 medals on the final day in Oregon. The team won 2 gold medals, 2 silver and a bronze, to finish just behind the United States in the medal standings. Josephine Sembenyo won gold in the women's 1500 meters in 4 minutes 16.73 seconds. Sembenyo overcame a fall and even lost a shoe during the race before making a strong finish to take the title. And that's your sports update on Radio Generation. Good morning, I'm Samuel Otieno.
Sports on Radio Generation.
Radio Generation. 88 Generation. 88 AFM.
This is Radio Generation, your one-stop shop for your hip-hop hits.